thing they could have done. Let's say they don't suspend him.
Oh,
Let's
shit.
say he is getting robbed, and you don't feel like they're doing anything.
I messed it up. I guess we're technically live.
Are we live?
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
You're good with
Sorry,
it?
I'm
All right,
bitching.
yeah.
I was just bitching
Yeah,
about.
I got confused with OBS and I clicked start broadcast as opposed to like start.
Excellent connection,
Yes.
bro. Look at this shit.
That's
Here, let me
great.
turn off my Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So I'm not
Right here.
putting a drag on the bandwidth.
We'll do a little intro at least. We'll try our.
Hey, we got a viewer.
Hey, look at that. It's probably me.
Lisa Gonzalez.
Oh, nice.
Holla at your boy. We're watching. Me and producer Juan are watching clips
That's right.
from the internet. We have TikToks and stuff like that. We're gonna go do under. We've been doing a bunch of what's it called? Officers reacts. We filmed like a bunch
Yeah, we
of
filmed
the
like
rookie and all that
4.
stuff. So
Yeah, so we're gonna be. Right now, everybody's gonna see my Facebook. All right, y'all don't look.
it's a dumb
I gotta
look.
pull up the video that Josh here sent me.
Oh, I like this one too.
Morning, sir.
All right.
I love this one actually.
Love the. I gotta hide the caption because of the bad language. That's great. All right, but anyway, so you want to give an introduction here, Josh?
So I'm Josh. This is producer Juan. Again, this is from Only Cops. We are going to be live streaming. This is our chance at live streaming here, and we're going to go check out some clips from TikTok and other social media accounts talking about police interactions. Specifically, what we wanted to talk about was how you're kind of 24/7 on camera, and it kind of the crux of it all is that you have to be careful that everything you say and do is going to be taken in or out of context. So we're going to watch a bunch of clips. We're going to analyze them. I'll check the chat periodically. If you guys got stuff you want us to look at, drop it in the chat.
Yeah, just drop us a link. We'll go take a look at it.
And we'll take a look at it. Please, nothing inappropriate. We're going to be clicking this. We're
Yeah,
going to be going in
yeah.
blind. And so...
I'm just trying it out.
But yeah, Lisa Gonzalez, shout out
Yeah.
for being cool.
Yeah, and we don't have Bill here because he had to go to dinner with his wife.
Yes,
So
Bill has a wife that he's got to keep happy.
yeah, we're ignoring ours, so it's fine.
So. Anyways, we'll play this clip.
So I'm here to run all the things. All right, so let's try this out. Let's see. Okay, we got to put arm audio on.
How old are you?
You have my ID, man.
How old are you?
You have my ID.
How old are you?
You have my ID, man.
I'm going to pause it already.
How old are you?
So my issue, obviously this is a traffic stop. I don't know if it's a state trooper. I feel like this is a trooper. I don't know if it is or not. I'm just being judgy. If you've already handed them the ID, it doesn't really matter how old they are, to be honest. I mean, I don't know how their ticket system. She's writing a paper citation. Sometimes there's different stuff that they need. But the issue I have specifically with this call is that he's already complied. He's already clearly filling out some sort of like written summons, and she's out here giving him a hard time about how old are you? The whole thing really pisses me off. But we'll watch the whole clip, and then I'll kind of complain about
Everything.
yeah, because I want to punch this lady so hard.
It's called Criticizing Cops 101.
Yeah.
How to do it properly.
Yes.
It does. I was born in 1988. What's 2019 minus 1988?
How old are you?
What's that? I'm 30 years old.
Wonderful, thank you.
Hey man,
Yeah.
And what model Mitsubishi is this?
look it up.
The Lancer.
He technically doesn't have to
To be
answer
fair,
that.
she had done the math, she would have gotten 31, I think.
Yeah.
Technically.
So pause it.
Oh shoot, I can make it bigger. Okay,
Oh,
great.
nice.
Well, here, we'll rewatch it again.
Your age and how old are you?
It does. I was born in 1988. What's 2019 minus 1988?
How old are you?
What's that? I'm 30 years old.
Wonderful, thank you. And what model Mitsubishi is this?
Ah, man, I would
Look at the
honestly, man.
Look at the back.
It's black too, by the way.
Hey, thanks.
I would have flipped this
dark.
lady out. So, like, obviously, my advice is always going to be to comply. I mean, I'm like your standard super PC cop. So, like, I'm always going to give advice for people to, like, comply and not, but, like, and this is going to come off, like, really rough, but, like, this is why cops get shot. I'm going to be honest. Like, this is why we get jumped. This is why bad stuff happens, is you acting like a dick on a traffic stop, even though there's zero consequence for that. You're still issuing a citation. This guy's still going to take that citation. I don't care what they're saying to you. If you're doing what could be perceived as super dickish things and don't have any law enforcement objective, it's going to lead to animosity towards law enforcement. And honestly, if this is the only context that you're seeing law enforcement, of course you're going to have animosity towards cops. You know, of course you're going to be pissed off. Of course, next time you get into a traffic stop, you're going to start amped up because this is your expectation. because this is what you're being inundated in. And as somebody that I did hundreds of traffic stops while I was still in law enforcement, and I never treated anybody like this. I had people fight me. I had people run from me. I had people, all this stuff. Everything was able to be accomplished you got to come up of MFers if, if somebody was fishing for a gun or something like that, some few choice words were said, but once the situation was controlled, there's zero reason for this guy being compliant. It's citation. You create this crazy, like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, he knows his rights, too. I mean, he's not being the nicest person about it.
He didn't have to be.
He's exercising his rights. Like it is literally his right to kind of be a dick about it. And go ahead and
nowhere in any law that I know of so far do you have to be respectful with the way that you address anybody. Quite literally, like if as long as you're complying, you can say whatever you want. As long as you're not threatening anybody or saying anything, like you're not yelling bomb on a plane, you really have the First Amendment is what the First Amendment is. It's like that's what kills me about this thing is like you have an obligation as an officer to conduct yourself in a way that would look good on all officers. So that just kind of, I don't know. I hate that traffic stop, but I wanted to address it because this one really pisses me off.
Lisa say he's at least 2 weeks old. Yeah, I think the mustache gives that away.
I think it's what it is. Yeah.
I think you have to be at least 2 weeks old to get the gauges in the ears.
At least.
Yeah.
2 weeks old. Okay.
What else we got?
I sent you another one.
Okay, you sent me another. Well, shoot, that closed my Facebook. All right, y'all, don't look at my Facebook. Come on now. Don't be rude about this. Let's pretend that we're not doing this. Hey, look at that. Winter Wonderland and Funimation. Sweet. There we go. All right, so here's another one.
Morning,
Oh, I love
sir.
this one.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, what terrible thing did you do? You parked in a prohibited area on Bridge Street.
Yes,
A
I
parking
It's a
violation.
terrible thing.
I parked legally. There were arrows
Oh, a
pointing
big mistake.
in the opposite, exactly.
Oh, this is Inspector Quinn.
Arrows
was that
pointing in the
problem?
opposite direction of pictures, and I was meeting with a friend at a hot club, so it was late at night, but I parked legally, so I suspect that whoever gave the ticket didn't see well. I have the pictures.
Okay, you have evidence?
This man brought
Show it to
evidence.
Inspector Quinn.
I respect the game.
And then I have it, if you can't see well, I have it on the phone as well.
A double-barrel defense.
I know.
Can you pause it? How we pause it?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm failing at my one job. I got...
Well, there's a sign
Okay.
Oh, play it again? See if I don't know if you got to the picture yet or
that
not.
says no parking.
There it is.
No,
So basically,
direction.
Yeah, oh, so you're telling me you wouldn't...
and I worked in like a medium to large size city, and so I really didn't have time as a patrol officer to be writing parking citations. You had to do something really egregious. I think I had an 18-wheeler one time, and there was basically this restaurant, and there was like a line of restaurants right off of a major highway, and they had pretty limited parking, so they had street side parking. And we had to put up city signs that said no large truck parking or whatever. And this 18-wheeler is taking up like the space of like 10 vehicles. Just like a little mom and pop shop. Was pretty pissed off about it. I wrote that guy a ticket for like failing to, I think it was like a specific city ordinance that I issued. But that's normally I don't have time for that. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to sit here and throw shade at people that write parking tickets. But it is important. A lot of people figure like, and again, I kind of hate tow truck drivers. Is like I don't hate them, but I can understand the disdain for it because if you park somewhere innocently for a couple seconds and your car gets taken away, it's expensive for you. Mm-hmm. But the I guess like the spirit of why parking citations are a thing and why tow trucks are a thing and why they exist in almost every single society that's out there is because there is a need for commerce. And a lot of people, you can also have this conversation about people that block highways. A lot of people will sit there and say, well, we're protesting, so we're going to block a freeway. I said, that's cool and all. I'm all for protesting, but when you start to interrupt commerce, the problem with interrupting commerce is that you have, you're stopping... think about the supply chain issues that we're having right now. Mm-hmm. I'm having a hard enough time getting groceries to the grocery store. It doesn't help when I have people blocking roadways. I'd say the same thing for, again, if I'm a mom and pop shop and I need people to be able to have access to my restaurant, I need them to be able to park here. If I'm handicapped And so the society deemed it that I would have specific parking spaces allotted for me to be able to access the services and goods that I want to access. You need to have special permissions to do that. And on top of that, more for emergency vehicles' sake, if there's EMS, we have real emergencies. There's buildings that are burning. There's people that are getting assaulted. There's real emergency services need to be provided. If you're preventing that, we have an issue with the stream?
It just says it's still going, so.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
If there is a law enforcement, or if there's an emergency service that's trying to be provided and you're preventing that from happening, there's a reason why all these parking violations are there. That's my big aside to explain like why I sometimes do get why that's like an essential need for cities, especially the more populated you get, the more essential that kind of function happens. Because again, you have street sweepers. If Gil was here, he'd be able to explain up north in Michigan, they have like road plows, and those plows kind of shovel snow off of. You need to make way. If you're parking your car under a mountain of snow and a snow plow hits your car and you now damage this, now nobody's getting that service. Mm-hmm. So I kind of get it. But in this instance, in this specific clip, I think it's adorable. Basically, the parking violation thing shows that you can't park this way and you can't park that way, but there's like a 30-foot space in between it, and he parked his car there, and the judge is basically like, yeah, it's perfectly lawful. Like, I don't see why you wouldn't. I really like his reaction to that. We'll watch it.
Oh, I see this. Okay. Now I see the other photograph. Yeah. Oh, there's two. There's two.
There are 2 hours.
He's got a better picture up here.
Yeah. I've never had this case before, where as long as he's in between them, he's safe.
I like the lieutenant too.
I don't know.
I'd have to say yes.
I'm amazed they have a
Looks like
lieutenant
he's
there.
between the
It's got to be a small
goalposts.
municipality to have
Between the pipes.
like a
This is a
legit.
novel case.
It is.
I think it's way above my pay grade, Inspector.
I also love this guy. I've seen a lot of stuff with him, and he's like the viral judge. But I really like him.
Yeah, I think that's his account, like chief judge. Chief judge official.
I have to show this to the traffic engineer.
It's all yours, sir.
The Supreme Court of the United States, when they get a novel case, they say, this is a case of first impression.
There you go.
Well, I can safely say this is a case of first impression here. Why did the city put up a sign here
What are our
saying
comments?
no parking there, and a sign here saying no parking there, and there's about 30
With
feet
a
in between?
coconut dog.
To me, it would appear like it's a safe zone.
Exactly.
All right, well, you did a nice job in bringing in the evidence, both the photographic evidence and the video, so good luck to you.
Thank you, sir.
What are you doing here? Your car's registered in Pennsylvania.
Yes, my mom is there, so I go to see her all the time.
Oh, so you come up from Pennsylvania, you come up to visit her.
Pause it.
Well, come back and,
So I want to talk. So he's done with his disposition on this, and he just happened to ask this guy, like, "Hey, what's going on? Like, why are you in my city or whatever?" And he asked because he had a legitimate interest in like the people he's interacting with. Like, you gotta think like as somebody, you're given a lot of authority when you're part of any part of the criminal justice system. You're literally controlling people's lives to a certain extent when you're coming in interaction with them, and he is trying to keep himself grounded in a place where he wants to know, and he's genuinely interested, and he wants to have them have a humanizing experience as opposed to a dehumanizing experience. And I think it's important. There's a lot of times I arrested a ton of people that by the end of it, they were actually pretty cool with me. They're like, man, I'm not gonna lie, like, I'm going to jail for like something I feel is kind of dumb, but like they appreciated being treated respectfully. It can't happen all the time. I had plenty of people that hated me because I took them to jail because they beat up their girlfriend or whatever. But like, there's a lot of instances where like they understand either they messed up or whatever it is, but like when you can humanize that interaction as much as you possibly can, I think it makes it an easier experience, not just for the person that's being subject to your authority, unfortunately, but also for you, because it's an easier thing to swallow not being cussed at the whole time all day, because it does take a toll on you. So I really like that he like actually took the time to talk to him. It's completely superfluous to his need as a judge,
yeah.
But we'll keep searching. I have another one, I'm gonna go find my little lawyer friend here.
Okay.
There's a guy on TikTok.
Is it the guy that's like, is it guilty or not guilty?
This guy, yes.
Love that guy.
I have this one
Oh yeah,
here.
that one was a great one.
I'm gonna send this one,
Yeah.
and then we can just mooch off of his
Right?
for a little bit. I really like this guy's little TikTok
Yeah,
channel.
do you want to do his part 1 or his part... Are you doing the part 1?
I sent that one.
Gotcha. Here, I'll get it. Let me get this pulled up here.
So this is more legal advice, but I'm going to talk about what we're looking at from a law enforcement perspective here.
Reaction.
So pause it. So this case, so there's like, I don't know if you can see, I don't know if we pick this up on the mouse, if they can see what I'm looking at.
Yeah, they can
here.
see the mouse right now.
So like, these are rocks. I can't tell you how often, man, it was, so, and this is going to sound kind of shitty. This was like homeless people lethal weapon right here, and like young kids. They picked up rocks. If you're a like building manager or anything and you happen to scroll across this video, please don't put decorative rocks out because these always end up being like projectiles. I can't tell you how many times I would get like some 13-year-old that like was really having it out with their parents and then like weren't allowed to go see like their boyfriend or girlfriend and decided to go grab a rock, and we turned into like this dumb standoff where they're like, I'll throw it at you. And I was like, I'm not pointing a gun at like a 13-year-old. Like, go up there and take the rock out of their hand. But like, anyways, in this instance, and I don't know how much he'll go into it, but the way that law enforcement, we're real dumb. So we try to process stuff at the simplest way possible because unlike a judge or unlike a lawyer, I don't just have to process this, I now have to act on it. I don't get a lot of time to go do it. So our equations for how we interact with people are really short and sweet. Is this person holding something in their hands to hurt somebody? Ag assault. I'll always see it that way. Now I might, in the nuance of it afterwards, treat it differently, but if you're hurling stuff at people and using anything that could be considered a weapon, you're going to get a gun pointed at you by law enforcement. If law enforcement was here, best believe there'd be some level of force being exerted on this person. Also chucking it at an old person. In Texas Penal Code specifically, after the age of 65, you are a protected party. If I assault you, well, we're friends. Oh, no, we're friends. We're not roommates, so I can hit you all I want. It's not domestic assault.
Not domestic assault.
It's mutual combat.
Not living together?
Yeah.
Those are the rules.
But that, like,
Not a felony.
Yeah, not a felony. But if you are 65, it's the same as you hitting, like, somebody with special needs, which I think is kind of sad and messed up at one point because you're treating old people like people with special needs. But it is a, what's the term?
Well, you could do exponentially more damage.
And I think it's why the law is written
that's
that
really
way.
what it is.
But like it exacerbates the penalty phase. Basically, it kicks it up. So like, let's say it was ag assault was like a felony 2. If in that instance that's what they saw, you being an elderly person makes it a felony 1, which is a higher degree of an offense. And so anyway, she chucks this rock at this person, and I wonder what this guy has to say about this.
Yeah. Well, so then this guy
wrecked.
straight up tackles her.
So pause it.
And says no bad.
So this is going to be considered, as this is my understanding of it, defense of a third person. So you have somebody committing aggravated assault
This person here.
on an elderly person that's up there, and you have somebody stepping in on their behalf. I would be very leery because you don't understand the context of what it is normally. Here it's pretty straightforward. This lady's like throwing it there, and she's also throwing it on the building. She's hitting the building, which is criminal mischief, at least in Texas.
Which he
That's the
could
way it
not
looks.
tackle her if she was just throwing it at the building, right?
No, so that's criminal mischief. You can't protect property like that unless you're like an owner of that property. And even then, like, there's going to be a certain amount of liability depending on the amount of force you give. It's a lot of times why, like, loss prevention will have, like, a no-tackle policy or something like that. There's a certain amount of, like, legal liability the property owners will have. What is this?
Is trial by combat still valid?
100%. Yeah, so it's not like, and I don't want to say, like, trial by combat, like, as in, like, jousting or anything crazy like that. Technically, it's not trial by combat. It's mutual combat is what I said. So mutual combat means that we're both consenting to assaulting each other. The one example I want to give is boxing. So in the sport of boxing, the reason why there's a licensing commission is just simply there's groups of people that say that you don't have any medical defects, so there's no lawsuits that can come out of it, and you two people can go and fight each other. What I was referring to with me and Juan is because we're not cohabitating or we're not in a domestic relationship that we'll disclose on the internet or to our wives. But if we, because there's nothing that puts us into the domestic umbrella, we can assault each other as long as we're both consenting to that assault and none of us uses a weapon or causes any serious bodily injury. It's just a ticket. Just like speeding or just like not using your blinker. And honestly, I would argue as long as the officers don't actually see you fighting, they can't even arrest you for it because the misdemeanor outside of their presence. So they could take a report and maybe cite you if they felt like they had PC for the offense. And honestly, it'd be a pretty good one to fight because we could just sit there and say we were wrestling.
Yeah.
And so like, well,
I hit a door.
Yeah, I hit a door. We were play acting.
He fell down the stairs.
For whatever. It's a real hard thing to prove if that's all you got. Versus in like a domestic situation, if Juan and I were dating, whole different ballgame. There's injuries, someone's going to jail. But they have to prove that. Or again, even if we were just roommates.
Shallow rest.
So it's a shallow rest thing. But yeah, mutual combat is a thing. Trial by combat is not. As awesome as that would be.
Yeah. Not yet, anyway. We're
we're on our way there. Florida will probably beat us to it. Yeah.
Go to the description of the video. You can sign a petition
Sign
to make
a
trial by
petition to
combat a thing.
Trial by combat in Texas.
And start training so you can.
I would like for elections to be on that.
Yeah.
It's a trial by combat.
There you go. Yeah, at least it's not technically ageism.
Yeah, it's not ageism if you just get your ass
You got a
kicked.
fair chance.
Okay?
You got a fair chance. Fisticuffs.
Anyways, we'll see what he says, and then we'll kind of scroll on his channel for a little bit.
There's a legal concept called defense of others, which has
There it
the
is,
same
third
element
person,
of
this guy.
self-defense. Because this woman threw a rock at an elderly person, it gave the man justification when he tackled her to stop her, making him not guilty.
Waller's reaction.
So the other thing too is this is actually exacerbated when it comes. A lot of people talk about qualified immunity when it comes to law enforcement, and there's a big argument about whether or not they should do away with qualified immunity when it comes to law enforcement. So the reason why, and you'll notice I gave a real big caveat when I talked about intervening in this, because you don't know the context. And so when you intervene, you open yourself up to liability of maybe I'm stopping a child molester from getting beat up or whatever it is. You don't know the issues surrounding that. So when you look at law enforcement and when law enforcement's in this conversation, we have a duty to intervene. So whether I know the context of it or not, I have to intervene, secure it, and then figure out if there's any crimes being committed. If you got rid of qualified immunity, I would just get rid of policing, to be 100% honest, because there'd be zero incentive for law enforcement to intervene. I do think there's a reasonableness clause to that. There's plenty of officers that lose their qualified immunity during a trial because it was shown that they didn't have a law enforcement objective. We're going to get to the Minneapolis cops. We have some footage that we're going to cover later in the stream with them. But there is a you lose qualified immunity the second you start doing stuff that's unlawful. So like just getting rid of it wholesale gets rid of any obligation for that officer to intervene in the first place. So if you were getting robbed, called the police and wanted the police to do anything about it, the conversation would be like, yeah, but why? I need you to sign a waiver to make sure that I won't have any liability, and then I'll help. And so it creates this weird quagmire where, well, who would help if you had any liability for doing it? It's why a lot of times I advocate for specifically like CHL carriers, A, be practiced and be good at your craft, but B, be very cognizant and understanding of the law and the limitations of your ability to actually act in that situation. And think before you do it, because you are going to be subject to that liability. Defense of a third person only works if they're actually needing defending, if that makes any sense. So that's why it's important. And it's hard unless you're a subject matter expert at it and do it all the time. So
Agreed.
What did chat say? I saw something else.
Oh
in
yeah,
the
it was a Donald Trump Joe Biden boxing match, and I said it's what we all want.
That would be hilarious.
What we were waiting for.
That would be hilarious.
They threatened to do it. They said they would.
They did.
They both said they'd beat each other up.
You know what?
Never
They both
happened.
talked trash about it.
They
too.
both did. They were both saying
did.
they would. I'm like, y'all are both 80-something years old.
Man,
or
we're out
whatever.
here paying for what is it?
I'm like, I would pay to watch that.
Who's that loser? Logan,
Jake Paul.
Jake Paul.
One of those two brothers.
Whatever
yeah.
one of the Paul brothers.
Yeah, maybe if we mention them, we'll
doing
get
a bunch
pushed in the
of
algorithm.
doing a bunch of rigged fights, boxing matches
Like,
or
I
whatever.
found a homeless man. He said he'd box me.
I bet you'd make way more money for do it for charity.
Oh yeah.
and the winner gets a presidency, but you do it for charity, you make a killing.
Oh yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Oh, we'd get rid of the debt.
Yeah, that's how. That's how you do it.
I understand. You want to balance your
Fundraise.
budget, baby.
No more taxes, just
Put on
pay-per-view
Put on
politician
a
fights.
politician. I wonder who.
We've solved everything. Pay-per-view politician fights.
Yeah.
Would pay off the debt. I would get my entire paycheck.
You know who'd probably be like an absolute savage? I feel like Nancy Pelosi would be an absolute animal.
She'd use her nails.
That's what I mean.
Know, she's got.
As much as I might not be a big fan of
She's a
Nancy
hair puller.
Pelosi, I feel like she'd be an absolute animal.
She's a scratcher and a hair puller.
She'd make it in prison.
And a ball kicker. And yeah, she'd bring a shank.
Anyways, so we'll go down this guy's. I like this guy's thing because he covers a lot of law enforcement related stuff.
Yeah. So let's see. What else does he have?
That one, yeah.
Voters' reaction.
Oh yeah, this is a good one.
The end
Okay, pause.
is crazy.
I have legit, and man, I wish I could pull up call text. We're retiring out of law enforcement. It takes all the fun out of it. So I have probably answered this 911 call code 5 times. And a call text is, there's a domestic going on, and the guy's driving off, or the girl's driving off, and the other person's on the hood of the car. I kid you not. I have driven down it was in my beat, and I'm not going to mention it because I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble. I'm driving this way, and this car's driving that way. I'm lights and sirens woo-wooing to get there. And they were like, they were giving me the wrong description. I think it was like a silver Nissan Rogue. So it was like a little SUV. It was a silver Nissan Rogue, and they're giving us call text, and I was like, correction. It's definitely a Honda Civic, and show me stopping. Because I found literally there's a guy hanging onto the front of this hood. Anyways.
Maybe that was a different guy on a different
it might have been. It might have been. But this is a real thing in domestic. So I'm curious to see. This says the end is crazy, so I want to see what they mean by the end is crazy. It probably falls off.
Well, because it's a who do you think is liable thing, so that's why I think this is going to be.
They fall. Crazy. Okay, pause. Okay, so cars aren't, and I'm just gonna take a prediction here. So I normally I love this guy. I haven't seen this before. Mm-hmm. I've seen this in person, but not this TikTok. So a lot of times the reason why this happens is what we consider in Texas unlawful restraint. So again, another example, Juan, my domestic partner here. So let's say Juan's trying to leave my house. We're currently at my residence, and I block him in. I say, no, you can't leave. And I physically put my body in between him and his ability to leave my driveway. That's unlawful restraint. Technically, again, to escape, he could absolutely drive right through me. It is not considered aggravated assault because I cannot prevent you from free movement. Now, I would advise to call the police before you go running people over. However, the unlawful restraint aspect of it, if that's what led me to be on this roof holding on to it, you're guilty for putting yourself there. Now, if there's an unreasonableness to it, if this person starts to drive like 100 miles per hour, I can start to see where maybe you might get like a manslaughter if that person falls off. But I guarantee you there's some unlawful restraint here. Or some semblance of that. I don't know what part of his state law kind of would congrue with that, but I'd be curious to see what that is.
Let's see what happens.
Crazy, bro.
Oh, swerving. Oh.
Okay, pause. Okay, for sure, the guy videoing 100% liable. 100% liable. So, at least in Texas, we're in at fault state. I guess they were referring more to the accident.
Yeah. They trick you with the...
That was clever. Yeah, that was clever.
Yeah, that's a little bit of misdirection there.
So, in the state of Texas, at least, we're like I said, we're in at fault state. And so, if the front of your vehicle makes contact with the back of another vehicle 9 times out of 10, minus a body cam or a dash cam showing something weird, you're going to be at fault every single time. So you will hold the civil liability of the financial issues when it comes to, because every time you go to insurance claims, it's technically a civil suit. You just pay insurance. It happens so often that we all are, in Texas, obligated to keep a lawyer on retainer. That's what car insurance is. Part of that's also like insuring the vehicle, which means like if something happens to the vehicle, it'll help you pay for it. But really all it is that it makes the court cases happen way faster because these happen. I had days
because otherwise everybody would have to call a lawyer, find a lawyer, call a lawyer, have lawyers
it'd
talk
be
to each other.
It'd be a whole thing. But anyways, yeah, he's 1,000% at fault because you are responsible for maintaining control of your vehicle. You have to. That's why they call it defensive driving. So.
Yeah, because he also has like no real business driving behind him and videoing.
Nope.
Being on his
Who do you think is liable? The car in the front or the car in the back? Let me know.
Oh, we gotta go to part 2.
Yeah, of course we do. He does. That's how he does it. That's how he does it. I guarantee you, you were right. Let's see who is liable. Is it this one? That's a different. Oh, that's a different one. Okay, well we'll see that one in a second. It's more.
This is gonna make me mad.
I don't even know how far back this.
I think you just click next. You probably could have gotten away with it just to click next.
Maybe let's try it. Oh no. Okay. Well, here, let's play here. Vamp, fill some time with some other information.
So, and again, when it comes to accidents, I think a lot of people, because typically you get in a car accident, you call 911. Well, I'm going to call 911. I want to figure out if people have insurance and all that stuff. It is not a criminal case unless there's crime afoot. A lot of people call 911 thinking that, well, it's our responsibility to go and make a report. Specifically in Texas, a CR3, which is a crash report, a officer-generated crash report, is only required when one of the vehicles or both the vehicles are not drivable. There is some semblance of injury, which I measure injury as somebody had to go to the hospital. If you say, well, I think I'm injured, but I'm not going to the hospital, no. I'm not doing that because I have no proof. I'm not a medical professional. I can't stare at you and think that you had injury. Unless you pick to have injury, we're not doing that. Or if somebody's intoxicated, let's say there was an assault that happened afterwards, then I'll do a CR3 because it's an aspect of it. But typically we don't do that.
We have our
This happens though, dude. It's ignorant is what ignorant is. It's a thing.
Damn, man. My shit up, man. Ladies and gentlemen, anytime you're traveling, you must always drive a safe distance behind the car in front of you.
My man.
In case they stop like a crazy person, making the car in the rear mostly liable for this accident.
Especially in Texas, they will stop on a dime because they're following too close in front of them too.
Yep. And like my dad taught me when I was a kid, you can't rear end somebody that's behind you. That's why he justified driving 90 miles per hour everywhere.
So you'd be at the front.
Yeah, can't rear end somebody's behind you. Oh, I like this one actually.
Which one?
It's she rear ends the Lamborghini.
Oh yeah, that one had like 8 different videos of it.
What's this?
Which one is it? This one?
Yeah, what is that? I see a leg holster.
Watch this video and let me know, is the officer required to disclose his information?
What's your badge number?
I don't
Did you take an oath to the Constitution?
Yes, I did.
You know what? I don't think you did because you're not following the Constitution.
Okay, pause.
Watch this.
Okay, this guy is not in uniform. Not in full uniform, which is kind of a big no-no if he's doing a traffic stop. Doesn't mean you can't, because undercover officers are a thing. It's just really frowned upon because you're... How is the public supposed to trust this random dude in jeans and a t-shirt pulling him over? I'm going to guess here, as a total guess, and which I don't normally I'm not a fan of, but everything about this kind of reeks of not good things. I'm going to guess this guy was off duty, and I'm going to guess that he saw something that pissed him off, and so him being used to being able to kind of do whatever he wants, he pulled this guy over. So bad look. I would never do this. This is just a really bad look. Also, it's a fashion faux pas to have this whole Brooklyn Nine-Nine wearing your badge on a key. We don't wear dog tags. Your badge belongs on a shirt, not on that. I respect the waist
the belt one?
holder. I had one of those if I ever had to do like office stuff. And I was coming in like for a court case, and I didn't feel like wearing my uniform. That's just a weird look. Because I've seen people lie about being police officers and use that to like kidnap people, you should be able to call and verify that is an officer right there before you. Until you know 100% sure that is an officer and that there's some level of accountability. In most situations, my SOPs were if somebody asked me for my name and badge number, I gave it. Every single time. Who cares? They're going to know. I'm going to generate a report that's going to say, Officer Josh, badge number so-and-so, at this time on this date, was in full uniform and pulled over so-and-so for this violation. Like, it's going to be public record. So I don't understand why you're going to be real weird about giving your name and badge number unless you're doing some, and pardon my French, but some fuckery. Because this reeks of fuckery, to be 100% honest. I'd be curious to see what his deal is here.
This video and let me know, is the officer required
Go to the next one.
What's your badge number? Did you take an oath to the Constitution?
Yes.
That was the whole video. Yeah.
You know what? I don't think you did because you're not following the Constitution.
I don't believe the Constitution doesn't specifically articulate that you have to give a name and badge number.
I don't think it's that particular about your...
No.
It doesn't go into the nitty-gritty of stuff.
I will say this, though.
Again,
I think that the objective here, and when the comments made about, I think that you have to understand and apply the law in regards to whether its constitutionality and whether or not it has a law enforcement objective that aligns with constitutional rights. Because again, I might have a law enforcement objective of completely getting rid of, gangbangers or whatever it is in my city, but that unless it's in line with the way the Constitution allows me to do it, too bad. Get over it. They're allowed to go do gangbanger stuff until the sun goes up, as long as they're not violating laws that I can enforce. Sucks to suck. Be better at my job. What are the comments?
So here's what he says. Everyone should know about the police.
No. Okay, what's your badge number?
I don't have to pay. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, a Border Patrol officer is a Fed, and there's no federal law that requires an officer to disclose their badge number. But many police departments across the country have adopted policies that mandate such a disclosure. So, even if a Fed is not required, your local police officer could be required. It varies case by case.
So I guess this guy was a Border Patrol agent then?
That's still super shady. It just seems so... So, and again, if he's undercover, and this is why I gave the undercover example, is we do have sometimes that does happen. But it's just a weird look. I don't understand why you wouldn't disclose. Again, I arrested very, very bad people. It's the reason why I'm still a little weird about disclosing certain information about maybe where I work and stuff like that. I arrested very bad people. I taught my wife how to shoot guns, and I got a bunch here and all that kind of stuff. And Juan knows I'm a super weirdo. But that at the same time, you still work for people. You're an arbiter of the state, but you're obligated. You're not typing.
Oh shoot.
Your obligation is to the citizens, not to your department. So I don't really see any issue in that, to be honest.
Yeah, that reminds me.
In disclosing is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that reminds me of that Border Patrol traffic stop that just happened. That just went viral recently. That was the. They pulled him over and he was asking them like, what's your PC for stopping me? What's your PC for stopping me? And they were basically like, we think you're smuggling. And
no, is that what he said?
That's what they said.
Okay, send me this video.
Yeah, I'm gonna traffic stop.
I'm one of those like super hipster libertarian types that like takes the Constitution real serious. So like as a cop, I was an absolute menace. Because like if I was interacting with you, like you were pretty screwed. Like I had rock solid PC and I wouldn't even talk to you if I didn't. Every once in a while I might like schmooze my way to like a consensual stop. I was like, hey man, what's going on? How's it shaking? Yeah, where are you coming from? I might hit you with one of those, but like it was pretty rare because I just didn't like. I didn't like any kind of interaction that I couldn't justify. Now, there's like regular interactions, like if I'm at the gas station buying something or whatever, like, hey, how's the weather or whatever. But like, if I was doing law enforcement stuff or investigating, yeah, I wasn't doing that without PC. There's just zero reason to do it. It's stupid. And again, it goes against the oaths that you're taking. There's a big reason why I left certain aspects of law. Why Bill and I left at the same time, but why we left law enforcement is the job got very politicized. And and you're starting to see it more now where the lines are getting, we're going to talk about this with the Minneapolis situation, the lines are becoming a little bit more blurred about whether or not, again, you're taking an oath to a constitution or whatever political affiliation that your state or local municipality has. In the same way that I don't believe you can go over there and doing crackdowns on, what's it called? On like curfews and stuff like that, I would feel the same way. I'm not going to randomly have a ghost hunt for people trying to have, I don't want to say the word before we get in trouble, but those medical things that are now illegal in Texas, we're not going to have a witch hunt for those unless there's a specific law enforcement objective that makes sense. I just don't. You can't allow policy or politics to influence policy. If it's not guided by the Constitution, I don't really see any interest in it. So
I can't find the Border Patrol video, but yeah, basically what had happened is This guy was, of course, recording these Border Patrol agents who were asking them, like, here we go. Videos are echoing from me. Don't know if that's to avoid copyright or something. How do you feel about the cops using the Punisher skull as a symbol? Oh, oof. That's a good question.
Oof.
Do you have our T-shirt?
I do have our T-shirt.
We do kind of. We make
it
fun
might
of
be.
This
might be dual coming out. Maybe.
I think it's because it's coming from desktop audio and also being picked up by our mic. Yeah, that's probably why the videos are doing that.
Anyways, we'll sort it out.
Don't know how. Yeah, we'll figure that out.
So this is the same thing with the Spartan helmet thing. Mm-hmm. This kind of goes along the same lines of that. And so my issue, and I'm a big DC fan. So I'm like a Batman junkie. And I've also seen officers that have like little mini Batman logos like on their vest and stuff. It's like a little thin blue line Batman. Mm-hmm. So we're people, and I get that, and I understand like when Chili's wants you to have some like personal flair on your uniform, and she might be referring specifically to like personal use stuff, like hey, I want a thin blue line, my Punisher logo or whatever. But I think but
I mean I've seen it on patrol cars and
100%. Like that I've seen it on actual. I don't think anything that has any type of affiliation that's not like strictly state sanctioned has any business on your uniform, on your patrol car. I'm gonna be honest. The thin blue line flag is a little different because I think that has more to do. I legitimately believe that has more to do with identifying as a police officer as opposed to saying that I identify with some sort of culture. It's not like referring to the thin blue line as in like the blue line I won't. It's not like a picket line that I won't cross because I'm part of the system. It's really like there's a brother/sisterhood that you are participating in. It's like veterans saying they're veterans. Well, I'm not going to let you use the word vet. Or I'm not going to let you have your airborne patch on or whatever. That thin blue line, in essence, is kind of like your badge. However, the Punisher logo specifically comes from, and we're able to call it the Punisher logo, because it comes from the Punisher. Another group that used the Punisher logo is actually pretty badass. The same SEAL Team 6 group that Chris Kyle took part in, they used to spray paint the Punisher logo on their stuff, and it's how they marked themselves so like the Taliban knew who they were. The problem with that is that what they were doing is they were engaged in warfare with Taliban insurgents. Mm-hmm. So whatever, it's my war cry. I slap my Punisher thing on there. I'm going to hold people accountable with any level of violence that I want to. In the law enforcement context, my issue with that becomes what you kind of are what you preach, and you are the culture that you decide to kind of make for yourself. If your culture around your job is that I want to be a consummate professional, no matter what it is. If that's there's a terrorist attack and I got to go take care of a terrorist by shooting this guy in the forehead, cool. I can be a consummate professional in doing that. Or am I going to sit there, do it, and then like bathe in his blood and like make an effigy or something crazy? Like there's really a difference in the way that you're approaching your job. If you look at the Marine Corps, and these guys are literally like designed to be cannon fodder as infantry. Like you're just designed to go conquer and take it, and then the Army will show up and hold that ground that you've now bled for. Well, their ethos is going to be different because they're literally made and bred for war. They're just over there to go and take it to the enemy, and they don't peacekeep. They don't do none of that. They go over there and they go hurt people for a living. Your job as a police officer is first and foremost to keep the peace. And so I believe quite adamantly, and again, if Bill was here, he would ditto this. Your job is to make things calm. Your job is to make these, even if it's crazy, shooting in progress, something, whatever. What I think somebody wants to see in a police officer, someone go over there, boot the door, point the guns to bad guys, get them into handcuffs, make sure everyone's getting medical attention, and this guy never breaks a sweat. This guy's not yelling. This guy's not out of control. This guy is giving you very concise, procedurally just applications of the law. The Punisher logo and the Punisher as a character in and of itself was like, yeah, fuck that. You guys killed my family. I'm here to kill all you guys. Like it's just it's
strictly a vengeance.
Yeah.
The whole point of that is the same purpose as like Batman's cape and bat, and it's like it's to
scare. I was gonna get to Batman.
Yes, it's to instill fear, and that is kind of the exact opposite of what you're supposed to be. I get it that they want to be like, hey, yeah, we fight criminals, we're gonna be tough on crime, we're gonna punish, blah blah. But that's for one thing. That's not your job. Your job is to take these people to jail. Punishment is courts and prosecutors and lawyers. It's not even your job. They could. If a prosecutor wants to wear the Punisher logo,
hey, knock it out, dude. Honestly, at least it makes more sense.
That's technically a lot more accurate.
Yeah, or the prosecutor, the judge.
Yeah,
I'm cool with him wearing a Punisher, having like his little gavel, having the Punisher logo, and just like it's like a stamp of condemning a dude to like life in prison.
But that's why I was like, so I design all of our merch and stuff, and that was one. We have a Punisher. We have a little anime Punisher, like little chibi anime really Punisher logo, which was my just little play on it because it's trying to be so tough and so whatever. And I'm like, let's make this family friendly Punisher logo that basically says like, hey, I'm gonna take you to jail. So you just sort it out later.
And I'm gonna be honest, like I was in plenty of use of forces. We did plenty of felony arrests, pursuits, all that kind of stuff. I got in fights. I got injured. We got like it all happens. It's such a small part of the job. It's such an infinitesimally small part of the job. Most of your job is super annoying. How about you pull it up?
I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to pull up the beams because this is going to be more fun. So
here we are.
I'm going to bring in one of the... Oh, shoot. Hang on. Of course it doesn't do it. There you go.
There it is.
When you cuff them, but they like it.
So anyways, this is kind of how I feel about it, and it's just it's not. I don't think it's appropriate to be 100% honest. I'm not going to sit there and be Karen and say that oh my God nobody should ever do it. I'm just explaining that when your population doesn't necessarily trust you and you do need them to kind of like advocate for you because you were stuck in a tough situation where you were having to make a tough decision and possibly hurt if not take somebody's life. Having the Punisher logo on your patrol car doesn't help because it's really easy for a lot of these people that are big critics of law enforcement to sit there and say, see this, well, I can point at it here.
Yeah, this right here.
This little logo shows that you had malice in your heart when you went to go do your job. It wasn't your duty. This is something you were waiting to go do. And it's the unfortunate reality that you cannot separate yourself from the way that you present yourself. So if you're, again, the stupid puta that was there, like, what's your age? I handed you my ID. Yeah, but what's your age? Mm-hmm. When they try to fight that ticket, when that gets played to a jury of 12, they'd be like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. There was you have another similar traffic stop where the guy.
I have it somewhere. I have to go see if I can find it.
But I did want to mention because I prefer anybody who doesn't know. We've mentioned it a couple times, but I produce all of the videos. I do all the editing and all that stuff. So I have a film background, and it's always been super funny to me that cops use the thin blue line thing, because that comes from there is literally a documentary. It comes from a documentary called The Thin Blue Line. That was literally about cops being corrupt and covering up for each other.
Savage.
Because of the thin blue line. And it's like, it obviously, like, there is a quote that is like, it's a thin blue line that, like, separates, society from chaos or something like that. But the whole point of that's where originally, the phrasing came from, but it became popularized because of a movie that was like, that thin blue line is how cops hide, the bad actions of each other. And that's why it's always been just super ironic to me that became a thing. It's like you're obviously I think only film nerds.
I didn't
like
even know. Yeah, I didn't even know. Yeah,
what that even is. But it's just such an ironic thing. It's the same thing as the Punisher skull. It's like you took a symbol, completely stripped it of its meaning, put your own meaning onto it, and now you wear it proudly. But it's like anybody who knows the origin of it is like you're kind of telling on yourself in a sense.
Well, and you got to think about like a swastika prior to the Nazis having it, like peace or something like that. Was it like
it's like a religious peace symbol. Like technically, it's like a flipped over, but it's kind of a similar thing. Where it's like these symbols sort of they change over time and they become what you want them to become and they represent. But the Punisher one, I think, because it was so popularized beforehand, does have that connotation.
We call it the Punisher skull.
Exactly.
That's the issue with it. Is like it can't be. And I'll say the same thing for Batman.
It's not the Peacekeeper skull.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I'm a peace. It's my Peacekeeper skull. It doesn't vibe so well either.
And again, like I literally, if you got to pick your spirit animal, I would want mine to be Batman because I grew up loving him as a kid. He was my favorite superhero growing up. And there was the one time, and it made my heart melt. And in a weird way, it's kind of sick and twisted. But my wife was like, hey, like, you loved Batman as a kid, and all you do is run around all night catching bad guys. And I was like, yes, but I don't punch and kick them and break their backs. So I'm technically not Batman. I'm also not rich Bruce Wayne. But, like, there is an idea that it's not, I'm not doing this out of malice or out of vengeance. I'm doing it as a professional. And I think it's a great question. I really like the question. But there has to be, you do have to separate yourself from the emotional aspect of the job.
And there is a sense of accountability that you as an officer would have that a Batman or a Punisher doesn't.
Yes.
So, like, I mean, sure, if they get caught, fine. But it's like, the whole point of those characters and why they're so popular is because they're doing, and we talk about this in one of y'all's videos when we talk about how y'all would handle vigilantes. There's a responding to comments video on our channel. But check it out. Yeah, but y'all talk about how, you know, the idea is the fantasy of they do what essentially police officers can't.
Yep.
Because, like, the police officers have to investigate, they have to get evidence, they have to do all of this stuff. The prosecutors, all of that. The system has to build a case for, like, a gang lord or whatever.
Yep.
Batman doesn't. Batman goes, he beats him up, he ties him up, and he delivers them wherever.
I know you're guilty. I'm gonna go extradite you from China and drag you halfway across the planet.
Literally,
beat you up and drop you off
in front of the cops.
No warrants.
And then they're gonna be like, well, we can't do anything with this because we don't have any of the documents we need. We have no proof. Like, there's no chain of custody for this guy.
What they didn't show was him getting released. Well, no, they had a warrant for him. They just couldn't enforce it because it was
international. Yeah.
So technically, once they found him, they're like, well, cool, we could take him to jail.
Well, cool. Maybe he was doing something kinky here with the rope and the thing, and he just happened to want to do it in front of a bunch of cops. All right.
So, and again, and this kind of goes back to the same, like, do you have to identify or disclose, like, your name and badge number? It's really about transparency, and the complaint's always going to be, well, I'm going to be subject to your authority, kind of like politicians. I would like for a politician to be more transparent about XYZ, what they do, right? So if this guy is passing this budget or passing this bill or voting yes on this proposition, I want to know why, and I want him to be very upfront with me about what his motivations are. We all want that, right? More of y'all are interacting with law enforcement. And again, there's not a politician outside of Hillary Clinton can't directly kill you. But like
stay apolitical, bro.
For
it's so hard.
For us, I mean, we have a very real. I could snatch you out of your house one day, you know. And so I think you'd want somebody that's got that much power to be kind of at a certain point, judge, jury, and executioner. You're gonna want some transparency as free people. You're gonna want some transparency out of that, and you don't want them to be, I am the knight, you know, and I am vengeance or whatever. You don't want that. What is this?
So I found I found these lawyers talking about that CBP video.
It's that magical time.
I'm trying to see if I can get the original off of there. But here, you get the
Harvard
idea here.
Law spouse.
Yeah, Harvard law spouses talk about stuff, so they're lawyers.
We'll see it.
We get all of our stuff from lawyers. We steal everything from lawyers. Hopefully this is not... they tried their best, okay? That is a joke. Yeah. All right, so hopefully this is not too echoey. I tried to mess with the audio levels, and we'll see if that helps.
It's picking it up. It's picking it up there. That's why. When we play it on that, I bet it's picking up on the
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think it's being heard on the microphone, which...
Can we mute it? Mute it.
Yeah, I'll mute the mic.
No. Have you seen this viral video? I swear to God, it is a literal law school exam.
There's so much to talk about here. Everyone gets so many things wrong. Let's talk about this.
Go ahead.
I also need you to put the phone down. I don't agree to be recorded, so.
This is my First Amendment right.
It's not, actually.
Wrong. You do have a First Amendment right to record the police.
Yep.
All right. Okay, so as adorable as this couple is, because they really are adorable, I'm going to super back them up on this. And again, this kind of goes back to... this is why I left law enforcement. I'm already kind of... And again, this is not to dog on law enforcement in general, but I worked with a lot of really good cops. I worked around a lot of really good cops, and I would say 80 to 95% of law enforcement interactions that happen with a cop that's anywhere past like a year and a half of working should know how to do this job front, backwards, whatever. Anybody involved in the law at any capacity, the county clerk's office should know that if you were in a public place, that road is a public place, anybody can videotape anywhere they want. if I could just choose to not consent to be recorded, what are CCTVs? How about Ring cameras? Mm-hmm. Did I ask that Amazon worker if he could be recorded? No, and I don't have to ask him.
If we're filming a skit and you happen to be in the background,
too bad. It's a public area. Mm-hmm. The consent has nothing to do with it when you're in a pub. You have the term's going to be reasonable expectation for privacy as far as Texas is concerned. I don't know how everywhere else goes. But, like, it's really not complicated. Like, would I pee here? Would I whip out my penis and pee here? No, because somebody might see me. Okay, well, then I can get recorded here. That's really the easiest way. The easiest way to measure that.
If you do, they are going to record you.
Yeah, it's kind of the easiest way to measure whether or not somebody can record you in any way, shape, or form. So, like, it irritates me so much when I see stuff like that because it's like, again, it makes you seem shady and it makes you seem weird, and this reflects on law enforcement as a whole. I had a lot of people. I if anything, and this is always kind of cheeky, I was that guy. But if we had people that
we always go for the low hanging fruit.
Hey man, I
you know what I mean?
I like to make sure everyone understands.
Low hanging fruit.
Low hanging fruit. Mine doesn't hang that low. But if one person's doing it, they're going to assume everyone's doing it. So if one guy's acting super shady and acting like, oh, you can't record the police and doesn't understand the law at all, and I swear, and not to, I'm sure that my CIA agent's probably super pissed at me because I always talk trash about Fed boys. The further away you get from like your lowest level of like P1 beat cop, I feel like the less they know about the law because the less they're ever subject to it. Mm-hmm. Anyways, we'll keep playing. We'll see what the Harvard law people. That doesn't make you special. If you graduate and can pass the bar, you're
oh good. Your parents had money.
Yeah, basically that's what this means. Very handsome though. They're both very good looking couple.
Yep, you can generally record the police in public so long as you don't do it secretly and you don't interfere with their
Pause.
duties.
You can absolutely do it secretly. And yeah, the interfering thing is definitely a thing.
And I think one thing that does apply in is if you are in a one-party consent state or like a two-party consent state. So I believe California is a two-party consent state, which means, and this again wouldn't probably apply in public place. I don't think it applies in public places. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. Because I have been in trouble recording a lot of things in a lot of places. But basically, like if you're in a private place, you can't record somebody without their knowledge. If you're in a two-party consent state, both people have to know that they're being recorded before you can record anything.
Now in Texas, again, once you get to a place where you have a reasonable expectation for privacy, if I have a 16-foot fence and someone's recording me from street view because they're using like a boom pole to do it,
drone,
yeah, I have a reasonable expectation for privacy. I think you have more of an argument there. Now, if I'm inside my residence with my blinds up, they had this conversation about using infrared cameras to actually look through walls to see heat signatures. Mm-hmm. They said that that's a warrantless search of a residence. Mm-hmm. And so because you had a reasonable... I put a freaking wall in between me and outside. Mm-hmm. I should have a reasonable expectation for privacy, and any violation of that should require a search warrant or some level of exigency to then go and enter that residence. At that point, I'm guessing the secretly aspect of it, that are they wikied this, and they're not really Harvard law students, or they would be worried about these kind of details. And again, state to state.
Well, I mean, we're only 26 seconds into a 2.5-minute video.
I'm with you. But
I think there's more details coming.
The secret. I think it's odd that the secretly aspect of it, unless it's in a private place, because then you do have to consent. Mm-hmm.
And again,
that's pretty consistent.
It's going to depend on your state whether or not the other person has to know. And even then, like, technically you can record. It's just not admissible in court. That's really what
I was going to specify that too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's whether or not it's admissible in court. Not really like, oh, well, it's illegal, so now you get arrested because you recorded somebody secretly, unless you're doing something sketchy with it. Like, that's... But, like, if you were like on the phone and you recorded a phone call, like, you just can't use it in court. But you can still have it.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Hey, what's your badge number?
This is the guy we saw earlier, yeah. So, but
really
they're two very similar
I think
stops.
a lot of people assume that police officers have to give their name and badge number when asked, but there's actually no legal duty for them to do that.
There might be a department-specific policy that mandates that they give you their badge number, but broadly speaking, there's no federal law that requires it, and most state laws don't either.
There's probable cause of alien smuggling. We're allowed to actually pull you out of the car and search your vehicle.
Okay, that's correct. If the officers have probable cause, they are allowed to take him out of the vehicle and search it.
I'd be here to smuggle. Smuggle. You're not from. You're coming down from Orange County. You're.
Okay, so like, if I'm going to allege that I have probable cause, and like, I don't know. If you have PC, you have PC. Technically, I don't think you're under any kind of obligation to explain that to them, like right there in the heat of the moment. Like, I don't have to articulate, you're pointing a gun at somebody, so I have PC to point a gun at you. Like, I don't have to say that. However, if someone's being 100% compliant and they ask, I really do think it's a bad look. And again, this always comes down to how is this going to play out to a jury of people that don't know dick squat about the law, and how is this going to play out in the court of public opinion? Why? Because both these things are now important in 2021 and moving forward. You don't want to get defunded conversations happening with politicians that are not subject to the law or anything like that. Don't look like that. If someone's being compliant, articulate your PC. It doesn't change your PC. It's not like if he counter-argues my PC that I don't have it anymore. If I sit there and I say, well, I believe you're smuggling because your vehicle shows to look almost completely empty, but is riding almost on the ground, which is indicative to me and gives me reasonable suspicion to believe, which is why I even approached the vehicle. And then when I got in there, I saw a bunch of heads ducked down and all that. To me, that might be PC enough for them. I don't know how their federal laws work. I didn't do interdiction on the border. But, like, explaining your PC doesn't change whether or not you have it. So I don't understand if somebody's being compliant and asking you for it, if there's no exigency to acting right there, right. Again, it's not like we just did a...
It makes it look like a fishing expedition is what it looks like.
And that's, again, you're really starting to trample on people's constitutional rights. And I'm a
And a defense lawyer is going to poke a million holes in that.
Because even if you...
defense lawyer is going to skewer you.
Even if you had it, they can now question, well, you never articulated when you had it. Your report might show XYZ that, oh, you said, well, but your report was written after the fact. So they might even motion to throw your report out of the evidence hearing, like when they're doing the discovery, they might try to throw your report out completely because you can say, well, that's biasing because we have his body cam. Why don't we go off his body cam where he doesn't articulate? His body cam's a live account of what happened, so why don't we go based on that? And honestly, a good defense lawyer would probably get away with it.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to like our previous officer breakdown, which we still have I think 2 or 3 parts left to release because I have to edit them. But the guy, I mean, when he pulls him over, he immediately basically goes on the radio and is like, I think I have a DWI. Yeah. And that's why I'm pulling him over, because they just were driving sketchily, way too fast. He could have stopped him just for speeding. Yep. But they hit a curb, and he's like, okay, well, this looks like a DWI. Cool. Now it's on my body cam, central nose. I get out of my car and I go conduct my investigation. If that's not, visible here, like what is it that they're suspecting that he has that makes them think that he's smuggling people across the border? I mean, is it just he's got a big vehicle and people might fit?
And again, if this was a check stop or something weird like that, and they have some sort of special law in place that allows them to stop whoever they want because they just feel like it, that's one thing. But like, if you can't articulate it, what are you doing? We're free people here in America. I believe that intrinsically, and I just think anytime you trample on that, you're kind of spitting in the face of everyone that does the job the right way.
Well, and it seems like, I mean, considering that there's 2 of these that are kind of the exact same way. I mean, like this dude's in a t-shirt and jeans, telling him, "I suspect you're human smuggling." Like, for one thing, who are you? That could have been, you could have bought this badge at the dollar store.
And I legitimately mean this. And again, everything I did was in full uniform, so I can't speak on. I have no experience doing stuff in plain clothes, but if you at any point in time don't feel like that's an officer that's pulling you over, call. If he's got a problem with you calling 911 to verify, you can even show him, like, hey, look, man, 911. Like, it's not like you're calling your homies to come jump this guy. Like, you're dialing, you're just trying to verify this guy's employment as an officer. And then he said, fine, I'll be subject to your authority now that I know you actually have it. That shouldn't be a problem. If this guy's got too big of an ego to not see that, then he's an idiot. Because, again, I've told my wife that. If you don't think it's a cop behind you, well, call 911 and roll it. Put your hazards on and slow roll it. If they pitch you for driving 2 miles per hour, we'll sue the piss out of them because there's no reason to be doing that. If you're consenting to it, you're not making any super active means of evading or eluding or anything like that. It's just, I don't know. That shit makes me mad. We'll keep going.
Do I have the reason to, do I have the right to travel?
Yes.
Yes. So why am I being stopped?
Because.
Articulate the probable cause. You guys want to laugh. Look at you. You're laughing. You can't even articulate it.
It doesn't seem like they think that they have probable cause, and just saying because isn't good enough.
But you know what is a surefire way to get probable cause?
But you guys are...
I will say this. if the dog is properly trained, they're not going to mark unless they have it.
Mm-hmm.
However, you don't know when the dog says that you have probable cause or not. And that's probably one of the most abused things I've probably seen. Heck, in my department, we didn't even have sniffing dogs. We only had bite dogs. All our dogs did was bite people, and they were really good at it. They were very scary. But I have seen this. I have seen examples of this getting abused, and I think we used to talk about this a lot with plain view doctrine, and how if I could see something in plain view, you'd be very careful with when you use that. You want to make sure, like, this is dead to rights. I would get someone out of the car, open the car, and like make sure my body cam saw this. It's like, that's exactly where it was laying when I saw it. Perfectly reasonable. Sometimes I've even once took my body cam off, shut the window, shine my flashlight, make sure that my body cam could see it, because if you abuse it and it goes to trial and it goes all the way up to Supreme Court and they're like, well, that's not very reasonable, you lose that right away. There's a tool taken away from law enforcement. So you just got to be, I don't know. That stuff kind of pisses me off. But yeah. I did the job the right way every single time. There's a ton of cops. The cops that taught me how to do my job. I had amazing PT. Most of them were amazing PTOs. You know who you were when you weren't. But I had really incredible...
We'll put their names down in the...
Yeah, they shot a shot. I'm going to go put somebody on blast. I had really good training officers. I had incredibly good sergeants. I had really good senior officers that I learned from. And every single one of them, we volunteered to die when we were out there because of assholes like this that pissed people off and made people homicidal towards cops. Mm-hmm. Because they were doing the job the wrong way. So when I get mad about it, or if you see somebody that's out here getting pissed off about it, it's because anybody still doing that job and doing it the right way might die because you're being an asshole. I'll never come off of that hill. And again, it goes back to the whole Punisher thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes your job harder.
You know, we're out here saving babies, and you're out here putting this like weird propaganda out there.
You're wasting like 45 minutes of somebody's life
that's what I mean.
Just to basically feel like a big man, I guess, or woman.
This killed me, and I'll talk about the same thing when it came to marijuana arrest. And this is all the interdiction, which we did a ton of. If it wasn't like almost a full ounce, I didn't care. If I didn't see like baggies and scales, most of the time I didn't care. If I saw like guns and marijuana and this guy's coming out of a trap house, and maybe I might go for less than an ounce. You know, maybe I'll do half an ounce or whatever. So like I can articulate, or I think I might be interrupting the drug trade in my city. But like, I have seen, and it kills me. I have seen some cop scooping little bits of shake. There's probably not even THC in that, because it's like sticks and whatever, because they wanted to make a marijuana arrest and feel like a big boy that day. I don't know if was their like version of Viagra. It used to piss me off, because it's just, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. Thank you, look, bro. I want to give a huge shout out to Miss Lisa Gonzalez.
Yeah, for sure. Stick it with us.
I'm feeling the love here.
I like it.
A huge shout. If you can DM us somewhere,
we'll send you some merch.
We'll send you some merch.
Send you a shirt.
We'll get you a shirt for being awesome, because you're making this live stream super awesome.
Yeah, we're having fun.
I really appreciate this. What's the next clip? Are we still going on this one?
I think because the dog's about to come out, so we gotta go to the dog here.
You're gonna bypass it by getting a canine and then having the canine false alert. You think I'm f***ing dumb? I'm not dumb.
So this guy knows what he's talking about, because one of the easiest ways for police to get probable cause to search a vehicle is to have a police dog alert to something illegal inside.
This is actually a pretty controversial topic, because there are studies that show that police dogs aren't actually that effective at sniffing out contraband, but the Supreme Court has the final say, and the Supreme Court says that this is a valid practice.
Do you give me
when it comes to the whole dog, and I talked about the dog thing, because I'm like, it's just so like, we didn't have bomb sniffing dogs because it is kind of a gray area. Mm-hmm. I disagree that when a dog's well trained, they're pretty good. It's kind of freaky how good, again, EOD's trusting these dogs with their lives to sniff a bomb.
But the big problem with dogs is that they will react to handler cues whether or not the handler intends them to.
I agree.
If the handler in the back of his mind thinks that this dude's got something, the dog might pick up on it and mark when they don't actually sniff something. And that's a problem. Because you can't talk to the dog and ask him, did you actually smell something? Or did you just feel something from me?
Well, and the other thing, too, is localized smells. So this is something we should talk about a lot when it came to, like, I smelled the odor of marijuana coming out of a vehicle. And again, very careful when I applied this. I did. There's plenty of times where I searched a vehicle because I was like, bro, this thing reeks of weed. I'd be sitting there in an empty parking lot. There's nothing, nobody walking by me. There's no cars or whatever. Pretty reasonable to be this very strong odor of marijuana that I only smelled when this window rolled down is coming from this vehicle. And I'd have to articulate it that way in my report. It's not, I smelled the odor of marijuana, so I pulled this guy over. Did I just recently arrest somebody that had marijuana? Was there marijuana in my car? Maybe I have residual marijuana funk on me.
Was it near a concert?
How do you heard it? Am
Or
I
a bar?
No, am I near my crappy apartments that got drug dealers in it? There's 100 different reasons why you can smell it. So if I'm going to sit there and do a warrantless search of somebody that they have a reasonable expectation of privacy on, I better have a good reason to. And if I'm going to use something like, hey, I smell marijuana, you better articulate it better than just I smelled marijuana. So I think that's where the argument comes in with the dog. The dog might, dead to rights, smell contraband.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say because especially with the dog's nose, let's say there's a car driving by that he smelled the contraband on, but he hits off on this vehicle, especially on Border Patrol, where it's probably all the time. They miss stuff all the time. So I can understand the argument there. I don't like the way they articulated it because they say, well, it's unreliable. And those dogs are really good at smelling it. The problem is the dog doesn't conceptualize that he's smelling drugs. He's just, hey, when I smell a thing and I'm right, I get a treat.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, it's hard to have a dog understand and articulate doing his job accurately with CCP in mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
he
just
doesn't know why he's doing his job.
Exactly.
He just knows that he gets a treat when he does it right, and he's very happy.
So,
about that.
And it's a difference in between lawyers because again, the lawyer's concern about it is the constitutionality of it, which is why they brought up the Supreme Court case on it and whether like how that's going to hold up in the court of law because that's going to be if they can defeat the dog hit, they can defeat the case.
Yeah.
For me, again, the way I'm articulating it is different because I'm typically trying to articulate why I'm doing X, Y, Z. So, and again, that's the game. I represent the prosecution side of things. These guys are kind of representing the defense. So, I'm a cop is the first prosecutor you're going to deal with. So,
permission to run my dog on your vehicle.
No, I don't. But either way, you're gonna do it. So it's.
Yeah, either way I am. That's why.
This one's kind of weird. I don't know why he's asking for permission. Police don't need permission to run a dog around your vehicle.
But you have no probable cause to pull me over.
1,000%. 100,000%. I don't like how smug these lawyers are, and I'm bred to not like lawyers. But if these guys get a dog hit, and I don't know because we didn't see the dog hit, but this guy is saying that the dog.
What's his dog?
Hit,
so
yeah.
he's got. You can see that.
No, what I'm saying is like I don't know that the dog actually did indicate on the vehicle.
Right. Yeah.
But if he's asking for a consent to search, and he allegedly had a dog hit, I'm gonna tell you exactly what you tell that cop. Try harder next time, my guy. Like no, absolutely not. I'm a cop, or I was a cop. And I loved my job, and I liked getting bad guys, and I liked being good at my job. The only time I ever used a consent to search was when I had two parties that had equal access to something. One party wanted something gone, and the other party wasn't there. I said, well, I don't have PC to go in there. I'd say, this is a domestic. Basically, we had a domestic. We had to arrest husband. Husband left. Wife called. Was like, I'm leaving, but there's a gun here that I'm really nervous because he knows where I'm going. I said, okay. He goes, well, he's a prohibited person. He's not supposed to have the gun. But I know when he comes back here, when he gets released from jail in 2 days, like he's going to get released from jail, he's going to come back here and he's going to be in possession of this gun. I said, so you don't want to take possession of the gun? Yes. And I said, so in the interest of this domestic assault, to prevent further violence, we're going to hold on to this guy. I can't seize it. And again, I'm a super Second Amendment guy, so you're talking about gun seizures and my fucking blood boils. But in that instance, it's perfectly lawful. I have somebody that gave me, and I literally, there was like this huge paperwork thing that we had to fill out to get a consent to search. But I literally had to fill out, yes, anything you find in here, I could totally be prosecuted by it. It was such I hated that form.
Which actually leads us to, so I'm looking at the comments while we've been talking about this.
Yeah.
But, so here's one that kind of fits perfectly with that. This guy, Pinky and the Brain, says, okay, all this and that, but did the guy have anything illegal? Is that why he wouldn't just let them search and get it over with?
Doesn't matter.
Don't just consent to searches, y'all.
Doesn't matter.
Just don't do it.
And again, like let's say this guy doesn't have anything to hide, right? And he lets him search. I was in high school. I still had my old Camaro. And
you couldn't fit anything illegal in that thing.
Yeah, I really couldn't.
You couldn't fit a human.
So I was rolling in my apartment, or not my apartment, my parents' neighborhood, and I took a right turn. This veered to the right. There was no like any other way to go. Technically, I was just continuing on the roadway, and I got stopped by the local police department that was there, which I have some qualms with, but it's okay.
They do donuts on the highway. I saw them.
Yeah. So, anyways,
almost hit one of them.
They stopped me for not using a turn signal, which I was like, really cool, all right. And at this time, I didn't know anything. I was a stupid high school kid. And they asked for consent to search my vehicle, and I let them. I didn't think anything of it. I was like, sure, you search my vehicle all you want. But I gave up my Fifth Amendment rights. Like, I willingly did it, and they didn't find anything, and they didn't try to play. They weren't shady cops. This guy was in field training. I realize this now is really adorable, looking back on it.
They're probably just trying to teach him how to do it.
Exactly. They're like, hey, man, try to get consent
This
to
guy's
search.
an idiot. He's a teenager. He'll say yes.
Try to get consent to search, man.
Yeah.
So, but, like, really, if you need consent to search to get a search, you don't have a search. So what are you doing? Like, that's kind of my 2 cents on it. It's like if you're good at your job, you're going to get PC. If you don't have PC, you're able to articulate exigency, and it better be there. Don't make stuff up. And if you're doing the job in the right way, and you're doing it in accordance with what the Constitution outlined for law enforcement to be able to do, and what state law outlined for what your function's supposed to be in society, you shouldn't be that complicated. Either you did a good job, and sometimes the bad guy gets away, but you'd rather one bad guy get away, but you're always respecting everyone's rights constitutionally, than trampling on people's rights and being a tyrant. I'm a free person. America's such a beautiful place. I don't know why anybody would be against that. And anybody that disagrees with that, fight. What does it say?
Also, because I watch a lot of lawyers, just because you don't think you're doing anything illegal, and just because you think you're a law-abiding citizen, doesn't mean you aren't breaking the law, and it doesn't mean that they won't find something in your car.
Yeah.
That's another reason why. Because honestly, you're probably breaking laws right now. Like, all of us are probably breaking.
100%.
You don't know the penal code. You don't
100%.
know. You don't know federal statutes. You don't know any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you are not aware of what might be or might not be breaking the law.
Well, used to get me all the time in Texas, and I stopped. I don't know, like 400 cars for this. No license plate light. I worked evenings, and then eventually I went to mids. And when I was on mids, it's nighttime. It's super easy to see. And so I'm driving around, and if you didn't have a license plate light illuminating your license plate, it's traffic. So easy PC. So I just get right up behind the car, turn off my headlights. My dash cam would see that you cannot see this license plate light. Here's documented PC both on my dash cam and on my body cam. I'd light that dude up. That's how I knock down cars coming out of drug houses and like high crime areas. Dude, that's the easiest PC ever. Now, searching the car was a different story. And I would come up to the car. Hey, my name's Officer So-and-so. I stopped you for no license plate light. Do you have your license and proof of insurance? You better believe I was looking for a shake. You better believe I was like, do I see the butt of a gun in there? Do I see whatever? Sure. If I didn't have it, I didn't have it. I give the guy his warning and get out of here. But, like, I had PC. This guy asked me, what's your PC? You have no license plate light. That's a real short, annoying video. You know, like, oh, cool.
Am I allowed to travel?
Yeah.
Not without that light on.
Yeah. Until you violate the law and I tell you otherwise.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah. What's this question? What's it say?
Oh, it just says, only dog I've been near was my grandpa's. My cousin would put ham on its face and it wouldn't react at all. When they removed it, it would just assume it was blind for a few seconds and keep its eyes closed.
Oh.
That's just a great dog story. Yeah. My dog will just straight up, anywhere ham near its face.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
You'd be lucky to keep your fingers.
I know. Yeah. She's nice. She doesn't bite down hard.
I grew up, my parents had Shih Tzus. Oh my God. Then they downgraded to Chihuahuas.
Yeah. They would forget who I was.
Yeah.
They come over and they just keep barking at me. And
yeah.
Like, I've known you for a decade. What are you doing?
They're cancer.
Ridiculous. Tiny dogs, man.
Yeah, our bite dogs were terrifying. I love dogs. I like animals in general. Like I got like an army of cats I feed outside.
Yeah.
Totally don't feed outside if someone figures out where I live. But the few times I had to interact with our canine, they were these big, scary Malinois, and yeah, they bit cops.
Yeah.
Don't
pet the canines.
Oh, man.
Don't pet the canines.
If it's a bomb sniffing dog, they got some cute ones. I saw EOD
They use like Labradors and Golden Retrievers.
Oh, they're super nice.
That's why I don't trust it.
Yeah, but they have real
met Golden Retrievers.
Oh, I pet the hell out of those dogs.
They're not bright. They're sweet. They're not
Man,
bright.
you see canine written on the back of a Tahoe, you don't want none of that, man. I'd almost rather get shot.
Yeah, probably hurt less. Or at least for less time.
1,000% it would hurt less. Yeah. 1,000% it would hurt less.
Dog bites.
Oh, they don't just bite you. That's the problem.
Oh no, yeah.
They clamp on. It's like somewhere between like a barracuda and like a hyena. It's just like a Tasmanian devil on your leg. I don't know. Every time I've seen somebody get bit, I'm like, oh god, dude, you should have just given up, dude. That's dumb.
It's too bad. Stupid Pokemon copyright blocked all of our stuff because we had a canine episode.
We did have a canine
with
episode.
the Police Academy, Growliths, and stuff like that.
I wonder if we can release that on Patreon.
We'll do that on Patreon. I have it edited and everything. I just can't release it because every time I would try to upload it, they'd copyright strike us, and then
Disney
can't afford copyright strikes.
Other people they don't play.
Yeah,
they got like the
Warner Brothers has been really nice to us.
Yeah.
Freaking ABC with The Rookie was great to us. That's why we're doing more Rookie episodes.
Bro, ABC killed it. They were like, hey man,
go for it.
We bless it. Papa bless here. We're not saying no to nothing. We're about to do like 8 more.
We filmed 2 of them. Yeah, we filmed 2 of them in a day.
I will say this too. Some of it's really good.
Yeah.
It's like some of their episodes are pretty good. I really do like.
Though.
They did.
There was,
they
that,
did
one,
a lot
there was
worse.
that one compilation.
They did a lot worse today.
They're running out of. They're I think on like season 3 or 4.
Anyways, anybody watching this that keeps up with our channel, we got a lot of rookie stuff coming up, and we finally did Police Academy. Just put your expectations way down here. We spent the whole time talking shit about Police Academy.
Yeah, we had some things to say about Police Academy. All right, let's see how this ends.
What's the rest of this?
Over in the first place. Yes, you do.
No, you
yes,
don't.
you do. In the state of California, you do.
All right, so now the guy in the car is wrong.
Everybody's wrong.
Here, the police didn't need probable cause to pull him over. They just needed reasonable suspicion, which, without getting into it, if probable cause is here, reasonable suspicion is just a little bit below that.
Where's it? In there? Okay.
What'd you do? You pointed to it. Your dog did not alert.
Stop before I...
You motherfucking liar, dude.
And the dog alerted.
No surprise, it's usually up to the police departments to determine what an alert looks like, and now the car can be searched.
Yep. Damn it. That's why you don't. Well, honestly, had he been less confrontational, they probably wouldn't have gotten that for him. But always be polite. See, we're in Texas. Everyone's kind of polite by it. We're Southerners,
have
but also
to be polite.
No, it's not a legal obligation. By all means, hey man, if you got time and you're feeling petty and you don't mind sitting in jail for a little while,
it is your right to be an a-hole.
Yeah.
It's just less convenient, ultimately.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
I don't know. Just some friendly advice to everybody else out there. Just be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Be nice. What else they got here? I like this channel so far.
I like this. They have this one. It says, my principal with police did a drop search on me, intent to school my...
Oh, no, this is actually a proposal.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Drug search on me?
Wait, let's see what they do here.
Legally search. It says, can you be legally searched at school? So I'm going to assume it's not a...
100%? Okay. Let me give you the laydown on how school works. Kids in school systems have zero rights. It literally is prison. You can't leave. You have to go there. And you've, lockers, you have zero expectation for privacy. I really think schools are kind of trash for rights. What are you teaching kids?
What do kids need?
Comply, no matter what. Mm-hmm. To my memory, this was actually just a proposal for prom.
Oh, okay. Well,
but play it.
Yeah, no, we'll play it. Hang on, let me...
You come over and you stay the night.
So this ended up being a pretty cute video. The police were helping him do a promposal and it was sweet. But this is a good place to talk about whether you can be searched at school.
Legally. This is actually really complicated.
Welcome to the law.
But we're going to break it down.
So the first thing is, if you go to public school, then congrats. Your school officials can't unreasonably search you because they're restricted by the 4th Amendment.
And if you go to private school, sorry, but you don't get the same protections.
So here's what that means. If you go to public school, then generally speaking, your school officials need reasonable suspicion to search you or your belongings.
So reasonable suspicion is one of those legal terms without a clear-cut definition. It's like, I know it when I see it. But here's some past examples.
4 students were standing huddled together. One person had money in his hand, the other had his hand in his pocket. Reasonable suspicion?
A school received an anonymous phone call that a student had drugs in his possession and the student was a known drug dealer.
Reasonable suspicion?
Now, things change when police officers, including your local school resource officer, become involved.
The police...
So, and also, I think the distinction here between for the public schools, you were talking about lockers and stuff like that. They might just be talking about specifically like,
like
on
your
person.
Yeah. Okay, so I would say that because if you're in a state school, I could see that because like you have to go versus like a private school, it's elected. Because like you got to think about this. So the conversation always happens with like sporting events, right? That's private property. Airports are private property. There is no like state-owned airports unless they're military bases, and we don't get to go to those. They can subject you to metal detectors. That's a search of your person. A metal detector is absolutely a search. So like, if you go to a concert and somebody asks, like, you can deny the search. It's your Fourth Amendment right. They have no reasonable suspicion to want you, you know? And nor are most of the time these people law enforcement, to be honest.
And so, employees.
But they can deny your entry. Because it's not compulsory, but it's requisite for your entering that private property. So I could see that, especially with a private school, because you're paying to go there, and it's private property, not state-owned property, that they can subject you to that. Courthouses, there are protected places within the law. Schools, in Texas at least, you can have metal detectors.
Yeah.
Which is a search. And I think they even require them to have like see-through backpacks. I think maybe because they can't frisk them or search them without reasonable suspicion, but they just want to be able to see into them. So they can dictate what kind of backpack you can have. They just can't go messing around with it unless they have reasonable suspicion. So that I understand. Just their articulation for reasonable suspicion was kind of funky.
Clear backpacks are the dumbest thing.
100%.
They look terrible.
100%.
Just teach your kid to shoot first. Come on now.
Oh my God. Hey, they make bulletproof backpacks.
There you go. See?
I'm just telling you.
What are we worried about?
Yeah.
What are we worried about?
Or be like that kid from Timberview.
Yeah.
Just bring your Glock to school.
Yeah, just bring your Glock to school.
That totally works out. You could go fund me and everything.
Be preemptive.
I'm not bitter.
Generally can't search you at school unless they have probable cause, which is another one of those legal terms that doesn't really have a clear-cut definition.
Again.
But it's just a step above reasonable.
That is 1,000% incorrect. Probable cause is a very specific definition. Probable cause means that you have actions that meet the elements of an offense that's a crime. Like, okay, so how do I have PC for speeding? If I had to ask you, how do I have probable cause for speeding?
You need to know that I was going at a certain speed, so you either have to have a tool that tells you, so like a speedometer on if you're pacing the car, you have a speedometer that tells you I was going 50 in a 30, and this car was right next to me, and therefore they must have been going 50 in a 30 because we both were going the same speed.
Sure.
Or you have the little radar gun that has its little radar nonsense, and it shoots it at the car, and then it tells you it took this long for it to go this distance. Yeah. Then because of math, that means it was going this many miles per hour, and now you have PC that says they are going faster than the legally posted speed limit.
So what's so convoluted about that?
It's vague.
So I was like, what do you mean it's not defined? I mean, it's like the most defined thing about the law.
I think the only thing that would be ill-defined is if the specific offenses are badly defined. Sure. And there are some places where obviously like you would have officer discretion or something like that.
Public intoxication, for example.
Exactly. So something like that where it's like, well, do I have PC for public intoxication? Am I smelling alcohol? Maybe not, but they are stumbling. Yeah. Are they, and it's like, and you've got this like checklist of things, and maybe it's 3 out of 5 hit.
I will agree. Articulating PC is complicated. I will say that can be. I've had powwows about do we have PC or do we not? Because of specific elements. But if it meets the elements, you have PC. That's the easiest way. Does your actions meet the elements of the offense for a crime that's articulated in the code that you're subject to? That's all it is. What's this question, sir?
Let's see. Someone threw a shoe at bulletproof glass in my old school, and that glass shattered faster and easier than my heart when my crush started talking about their crime.
So I will say this. So a lot of people think about bulletproofing.
It only stops bullets. It doesn't stop anything else.
Yeah, really, like they look at bulletproofing the way that tanks are like resistant to or even like every time you think about armor, they have a much more traditional sense that if it stops one thing, it'll stop everything less than that, and it's not how it works. Like a Kevlar vest will stop a 9mm bullet easy, but you try to stab them and you stab right through it. Shout out if you want to stab somebody with a bulletproof vest. It totally works. An arrow.
You are just teaching people how to crime better.
I'm teaching people how to crime better. But armor is designed for, typically, if it's going to be effective, it's designed to stop a certain threat. So, like, if I wanted to make a Faraday case, it's a great example of this. So, the Faraday case, for those that don't know, it's designed to protect electronic equipment from an EMP blast, which is basically like, if you've ever seen it in movies, where they're like, they set something off. The Matrix is a great example of this. They set off an EMP and all the electronics would get fried. A Faraday case is a type of armor designed to defeat that. Wouldn't stop a straw from poking through it, but it's
a hammer to it.
Yeah, so bulletproofing is designed to stop small projectiles moving really fast. Not big ones moving slow. Typically, the problem with bulletproofing is weight is your enemy. A lot of times with, for instance, it's why certain things are pistol rated but not rifle rated. You have a heavier mass moving at the same speed, but it's got more kinetic energy, basically. So I'm with you. It's going to be really disheartening when a shoe goes right through bulletproof glass. Yeah. But anyways.
Or they might have just used the lowest bidder. And,
I will say this. You might have also had bulletproof glass.
Bulletproof was the name of the brand.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me either. So.
Not a description of what it did.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
it pisses me. Their description of PCs pissed me off though. Like,
I will say they are lawyers, so their whole job is to find holes in what you would consider PC.
Well, and that's kind of like saying that's like the dating equivalent of what are we? Mm-hmm. Like that's kind of their job is to be like that convoluted
to give that
asshole.
Answer in a way that's non-committal.
Yeah, what are we? Well, I don't know. Don't you just look? Why can't we just be together?
Yeah.
like
why do we have to put a label on everything?
Yeah.
Because we need PC.
Yeah. Cops are not allowed to be that.
Because we need to know if this was a crime or not.
Yeah, we're not allowed to be that vague. We're not. We can't just ruin people's lives and have not be held accountable. So
you live in the world of yes or no. They live in the world of maybe.
Yeah, it's stupid. I understand the function, and I'm giving these guys a lot of shit, but they're doing a good job of explaining stuff.
Suspicion.
Keep in mind, if you consent, all of this goes out the window and you're getting searched.
Finally, it's worth noting that there are two types of searches that don't require reasonable suspicion or probable cause.
First is drug testing. Drug tests can be required of students performing extracurricular activities, but they can't be mandated for the student body in general.
Second are random searches, which are generally okay if they're truly random, but can't be used to target a specific individual.
So yeah, that was the...
So you still don't have to consent to drug testing. You can just refuse. Really? You get kicked out of stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah.
You can always refuse.
But they don't need like PC or reasonable suspicion to do it. No. They can just be like, hey, we're going to search you.
It could be terms of employment or terms of enrollment in the school. Because they do reserve the right to kick you out of the school.
And employment.
Yeah.
They do it in employment too. I had to do it for employment.
They drug tested you? Wow.
Yeah, for my first job out of college. They're like, just go to this center and pee in a cup.
They drug tested us too. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense for y'all.
Yeah.
What was I doing? All right.
Hey, are we tagged and stuff? Check.
Oh, yeah, we've got some comments here. Or something. Just people liking your video. Where do you think she got that magical moment? Oh, it's... Oh, yeah, no. I was just commenting on dumb videos. It was somebody jumping on a trampoline and they like jump off of a thing and then pop right back up, and I just went, it's reversed.
Let's see if they got any more.
I was being dumb.
Or do you want to go to the?
Let's see what else we can find.
Oh, we can go to the.
What is that? I don't even know what that is. Okay.
Oh, our hentai's coming up.
I know. It's a Star Wars thing.
Star Wars.
I'm like, where's all like cop stuff? I guess we don't have cop stuff on here. Whatever. We'll just go back to our profile. We'll react to our own stuff.
No, stop. I don't know. We'll go to the Minneapolis thing.
Yeah, still the Minneapolis. Yeah, okay. Where did I put those? Oh shoot, I might have closed those out. Hang on. Here, I'll find them. You talk about things again.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're in my history. I don't need people seeing my history.
Whoa.
All right, here we go. Let's say
it was Biddle.
Yeah, Biddle was the super long
BWC.
one. I don't know. You want to do 2 hour?
We can just start skipping.
Okay, we'll go to the ones the comments mentioned.
We'll skim. So to give some backstory to this, this was right after the whole George Floyd incident in 2020. Bill and I were still officers at the time. That was fun. So the
I had a great time.
Yeah, we were on mids too.
Oof.
And so like literally
Explain what mids are.
Okay, so mids typically, and it depends on like if you're on 12s, we were on 10s, so we're on 410s. And so for us, the shift was from 9 o'clock at night till 7 o'clock in the morning. And you typically worked 4 days in a row, and then you got 3 days off. That's how we did it. But typically, the midnight shift is anybody that ellipses the day. And typically, if you're going to ellipse from one day to the next, your whole shift's in the evening. Like, you do not see the daytime. And especially if you're on 12s, like, man, you got to imagine you're like 7 to 7 or whatever. Like, that's, whoa. That's a rough. It's a whole. I will say this: there's a reputation that on mids, like you go to be on mids. Because,
I mean, I work those hours, but no one throws things at me.
Yeah, that's true. But there is a culture in policing. If you want to talk about the whole, we were just talking about culture in policing. But that mids is like where you go when you're like a go-getter and you want to go see. I think you get worse crimes. I don't know that you get more. Again, we're just talking about this. You don't have any school shootings that happen on mids. Mm-hmm. School's not in during mids, you know. Typically, you get like a lot of commercial burglaries. You get a lot of people that do like breaking and entering. You get some of your your real bad domestics. People are at work during the day. Like your bad domestics happen at like 1 or 2 in the morning. Your barricaded persons typically happen at night. Mm-hmm. One of the ones I participated in happened in broad daylight. It was in the middle of nowhere. But so all mids means you work over midnights, and they refer to it as mids. Or mid shift or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's I don't know how. There's guys that have done that for like 20 years and they're psychos. They're better men than me.
No, don't do that.
Yeah, it's soul sucking. I've been out of policing now since May of 2021. It's what today, October 14th.
Yeah.
Last week was the first week I was on the day shift schedule, for sleep schedule. I tried for that long to readjust. I just couldn't. It was so easy for me, and my wife adjusted with me. And it just sucks because like she wanted to be awake at the same time I was awake, and it was so hard for us to cycle back. And then on your days off, like you want to hang out with friends and family. He would see if you ever look at our early,
all the early cops. We were filming those on y'all's days off, and between like 10 p.m. and like 3 a.m. And that's why there's some comments in there of it's like why is that dude with the hat not talking? And it's like it's because we're on our 5th one of these that we're recording of the day.
Yeah.
And it's 3 in the morning and he's just falling asleep.
Yep. We've been awake for 17 hours already. Mm-hmm. We're slamming. Yeah. We did the math one time. We were doing on average 900 milligrams of caffeine.
Oh my god.
A day. And it was nuts. And he was also eating calories too on top of that. Anyways, mids was rough. But anyways, at the time, of course, we got to be involved in all this stuff and we were constantly prepared for riots. We have what are called SOPs or standard operating procedures, and we had game plans for riots. So we'd get intel that would come in, some fusion center from Dallas or whatever would tell us, hey, we've got some chatter on the internet that's saying that, hey, you're going to have a riot here in your city or whatever. We'd mobilize our SRT. We have very strict use of force when it comes to any of that kind of stuff. And so, like, I was around when this happened. I understood what it was like for everyone to hate you in the nation. I understood what it was like to be on the news all the time. I understood what all I get to see this with a very clear lens of what they were doing, and I have some pretty angry stuff to say about it. So I was in a real bad spot.
Yeah.
Tea usually has more
caffeine than coffee.
100%. Yeah. And you know what? I actually got onto what is it? It's a British black tea that Kinsey used to make for me. I loved it. Oh, yeah. It was great. We'd make like a whole pot of it. And I did it with milk and sugar because I'm a total wuss. I did that. I would do green tea. Green tea I didn't do with milk that I liked it. But we did energy drinks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because we're like tea, I would say like a reasonable serving of tea was probably giving you like 180, like 200 milligrams at a time. We were doing like 300 to 400 milligrams a drink with energy drinks. And it didn't matter if it was cold. The problem was like getting tea that was like pre-brewed tends to really suck. Like brewed tea, like coffee, is way better when it's not fresh. Coming. Yeah, when it's fresh. And so energy drinks took all that out of the equation. And it's also what I could get at a gas station at 2 o'clock in the morning. And it's also during lockdown. Yeah. So like
Which is pretty funny because we have like obviously you were getting like kicked and spit on and all that stuff. But we had pretty much the same schedule because I would work a lot of events or whatever. I'd be getting out. Yeah, I'd be wandering around at 2 a.m, being like, "Why is there nothing open?
Yeah.
Where's their food? Where's their water? Where's there anything for me to eat, drink, or whatever?"
And honestly, I for anybody that was a cop before 2019, worked through 2020, and is now working in 2021. They understand really what the difference was. And I had officers that were being released out of field training into 2020, like mid-2020, and they had no idea what it was like to be a real cop. It crushed me because we had huge sporting events. We had hundreds of thousands of people that were in the city all the time. There's always shit going on in bars and fights and a bunch of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
These guys were like, man, it was a busy day. We worked 10 calls today. And I was like, wow, go kill yourself. Like, golly, like... But we used to average like 25 in a night, and that was you still taking reports, still doing crashes, still getting into foot chases, still getting into fights, and like 3 trips to the jail a night, 4 trips to the jail in a night. You still have to do all the paperwork for that.
Mm-hmm.
That you were just like, yeah, you were doing it while driving. I swear sometimes you're like literally like typing as you drive. It was the stupidest thing ever. Anyways, we'll play this clip.
Let's work through your trauma here.
So, anyways, and this will bring back a handful
a lot of fun
memories.
Yeah.
But basically, what I was getting at as far as SOPs is that if you know that you're going to have some level of civil unrest, your job is to peacekeep. So your job is to disperse groups that you see that are being disruptive or destructive. You can't arrest everybody. My issue, and this is again where policy and politics and how this all plays out into the law start to overlap. And a big reason why I got really turned off by what people are asking law enforcement to do. Is they're enforcing curfew. And I understand this happens in Texas where you'll have like...
we did have curfew in, I think, downtown Dallas for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Right after the first couple of protests that happened here.
So they do curfews under what you would call like an executive order or like a mandate. But there's no real law in the books that says you cannot be outside at this point in time. You're literally charged with violating a curfew, which
BS.
I have my frustrations with, because again, I'll sit there and hammer my fist about the Constitution, and this, in essence, is a violation of that. But we'll
sure
play.
There's case law,
and there is, and they're going to say for the public good and XYZ, but I don't know.
Yeah. So basically, the context of this is there's new body cam footage that has been, I guess, gotten by the Minnesota Reformer, which is, I guess, a local newspaper up in Minnesota. And they found a bunch of Minneapolis cops that were essentially talking about hunting protesters and, like, pelting them with non-lethal rounds, stuff like that, and just having a good old time. And so we're just going to kind of go over them and talk about them. There's a couple of clips. This is the longest one. It's and it's kind of the one that... So there was a case where a man shot back at them because these guys were SWAT. They were hanging out in an unmarked white van. And essentially, pot-shotting protesters. Well, this guy thought they were just random people shooting at them, so he shot back.
Yep.
So, of course, they come out, they arrest him, and it goes to trial. He got acquitted, and that's, I think, where, I guess in the trial, this must have been released, and that's probably how we know about it. I haven't looked into where it came from, but anyway, that's what this is. And so we're just going to take a look at it and see kind of, we're going to discuss the behavior going on here. I have my opinions of the Minneapolis Police Department. They're not good opinions. There's just a lot of just bad behavior that's come out of that department from what we've seen. Both the George Floyd thing and a bunch of other stuff that's just come out. I mean, the way they handled all of this as well was, in my opinion, not good. I'm coming at it from a civilian standpoint. Josh will have his opinions on it from an officer standpoint. We might be looking at it from these kind of two perspectives.
Okay, so I'm trying to wrap my head around how I'm going to articulate. I don't want to say it's a bad department.
I do.
I want to say...
But I won't.
I want to say it's a bad city. And this is why I'm going to say that. You have... Because it didn't come out of the blue. What he's saying about why he's criticizing specifically the department is that you have not one, not two, probably hundreds of examples of misconduct that clearly went unchecked to the point where now there's people going to prison and all this kind of stuff happening and you're making national news way more than once. You have a prosecutor's office that didn't want to see these cases. You had probably, what are they called? Like a police union?
Yeah, police union.
That didn't want to see any of this kind of stuff. You had supervisors that didn't want to mess with this kind of stuff. You had city organizers that they get to pick who the police chief is. It's not like it's like whoa surprise! All the cops voted for their. Trust me, they don't vote for their police chief. Okay, if they did, the police departments would be really different. When you see Flint, Michigan's a great example of this. You can see. When they use the word systemic, you can see where just literally, I'll just call it a lack of give a damn, permeates a place so bad that you end up having a police department like that. This to me is an example of like kicking the can down the road so far to the point where this stuff's allowed to happen and it doesn't get checked at all. I have had officers get fired for way less than what I'm seeing here. So. And there's supervisors. This is a supervisor's, but which is wild to me. And that being said, it wasn't egregious to the point that it was affecting civilians. I saw more egregious things than what's being seen here done to fellow officers that was not checked. Which is a whole other conversation to be had. But like, people complain about the systemic nature of this and tend to hone in on just the police department. I think the police department, as bad as the police department is, I think it's indicative of the city as a whole. And I'm talking about city management as a whole, not the cities and the people in it. People just live there, they pay taxes, okay? But like,
so I will blame it a little on the citizens, because then I talked to Bill about this a couple times, and we both kind of agree on the fact that it is up to the citizens to create the leadership that they want to see.
I agree.
The fact is, most people don't bother to vote in their local elections. Most people don't even know who the candidates are. If they do vote, they're kind of guessing. They're voting based on the party, not on the person. Yep. And in local elections especially, the party doesn't really matter all that much, because for the most part, you're talking about really localized, kind of like you're talking about zoning. But again, you're also talking about police policy. You're talking about school boards, that kind of stuff. But that's the stuff that ultimately affects you the most.
100%.
Federal stuff will affect you, a couple times a year when your taxes are due.
Yeah, there it is.
Or when, or if you're in like very specific types of groups, it might affect you positively or negatively based on what they decide. But local stuff,
it's really,
that's like, are they gonna dump sewage in my water supply? Kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And most people do not pay attention to it and do not care enough.
Flint, Michigan.
Exactly like Flint, Michigan. You got lead in your water. Crazy. And what are you doing about it? Probably nothing. And your leadership does nothing about it because you didn't do anything about it. You didn't care until it started affecting your kids, became a national story, and now it's suddenly a problem. And that's the problem here, is it gets to the point where it becomes a national issue, and then all of a sudden people are demanding a national solution to a local problem. And I mean, a lot of departments obviously are not making national news. They're doing. No. I mean, if you live in the suburbs, you're probably pretty happy with your police department.
I'm seeing if we had audio. I just want to make sure you weren't talking to the oblivion.
Oh no, no. Both of these are plugged in. Okay, but yeah, like it's a very different policing experience from city to city, from town to town, from state to state. And so when you're trying to create oh my god, how cool their names are. And I'm not gonna lie, I've done that before, because there were some positions where they were so small. And I had no clue. I try to research everybody, but sometimes it's like there was one time when they redrew the districts, and so I didn't know I was in a new district thing, so I was just checking the old number, and so I was like, well, crap, I'm here in the voting booth, so I guess I'm gonna go based on I was like, well, we should probably get a woman in here, and then I just
he goes, fucking whatever. This sounds good.
I voted for 3 men in a row. We should probably get a couple women. I mean, it was I was like, well, I researched for the wrong thing because I didn't realize that I was now in a different district, and it's like that kind of stuff, and it's ultimately responsibility. I say the same thing about, as I'm a media person, I say the same thing about the media, because everybody wants to blame the media for everything, and I'm like, y'all created that.
Yeah.
You demanded that they be entertaining, that they be feeding your endorphins, that they be providing you with consistent serotonin all the time. You created a news cycle that was nothing but breaking news, which not all news is breaking. I'm sorry. What Congress deliberating about stuff is not breaking news.
No.
Tell me when they do something, which will be sometime in 10 years.
Miss Gonzalez, make sure you email us.
Yes.
You deserve swag.
We're gonna send you some stuff.
But
I mean, it's just like it's like we as citizens have to take some responsibility for creating the environment in which this kind of stuff happens. And of course, leadership has to take responsibility because they also are the ones directly in charge of allowing this to happen, creating zero accountability for any of these officers. They clearly think this is okay and this is how they should behave. And why would they think that? Well, because the people who are in charge of telling them no haven't told them no. They told them, yeah, go for it. That's cool. And then it ultimately comes down to trust. Your citizens do not trust your police department. They do not trust your city managers. They do not trust your government. And therefore, when they don't trust you to be able to fix the complaints that they have, what other option do they have but to revolt, essentially?
And I'll say this. I think that police department is the cancer that the smoking of that city management caused.
Yeah.
And it's too far gone. I really do believe that. Like, unless you see just like a wholesale rehauling of like recruiting and whatever.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, it's like the people that are going to be fixing it are the same people who caused the problem, so they don't know the solutions to that.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of the problem is unless Minneapolis votes out everybody that's in there. But of course, it's like with Congress. It's like, I hate Congress, but I love my congressman.
Yep.
And it's like, so I'm going to keep voting. It's like everybody does the same thing. They keep voting for the same people. They all go back in there. They do the exact same thing. And then you get mad at them.
You can tell like we hit like a real deep like nerve with you with this. You've like machine gunned this.
I have a lot of stuff to say about local versus because it's like you're super libertarian guy. I'm a lot more moderate, but I do believe that a lot of the problems should be localized.
I agree.
And that doesn't mean I don't think there's a place for federal government in a lot of this stuff.
Oh, I think there's 100% a place for like, especially when you're looking at infrastructure, especially when you're looking at like keeping people like Jeffrey Bezos from being
and like even
dicks,
baseline like policing standards.
Sure.
Of like, hey, these are the expectations that we for each department to have.
At the very least, a minimum expectation for standards. Yeah.
But you don't have to micromanage. You don't have to send in agents and stuff and be like, hey, this is going to be what every single because different cities are going to need different things. You know, there's going to be bigger cities do not need people like Bill said in the police academy video that we're not that I'm referencing that we haven't released yet that we filmed today. But it's like in Michigan where he was born, they had the deputies would have to come out and like shoot the deer if you hit it with your car. I'm like, I'm sorry, but Austin, Texas does not need somebody to come out and shoot deer on the road when you hit them with their car and they're suffering. It just is like, but that's the problem is when you start demanding a federal one-size-fits-all solution for what are ultimately localized problems, and it's also what ultimately causes everybody to fight each other, is that you've got a bunch of people who have never had a problem with the police because they're living in nice cush suburbs. Their only interaction with the police are the traffic stops that we make fun of. They're like, well, this is annoying, but that's about it. But anytime I need something, the police are there to help me. Somebody broke into my car, the police were there to help me.
When they're there to
My girlfriend gets her car stolen. We sat in that parking lot till 4 a.m. Nobody ever came to take a report. We had to do it the next day. Why? Big city. So it's like completely different interactions that happen. Same thing, different neighborhoods even will have completely different interactions. Because if you're living next to trap houses, you're going to have a lot more police presence. Are deers edible after they get hit by a car?
I don't see why not.
I think it depends how quickly you get to like dress them and do all of that stuff. Typically, if you stick it like right in the back of your truck and then like take it back and get it,
so I'm
processed
and
put in a fridge, probably
So
not all of it.
Now I think specifically in somebody maybe down the road can correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of times like because you don't have a tag for that deer, and I can't think of a single state that doesn't have tags required. Kind of like you need it for like a fishing license or whatever. But typically, because you didn't have a tag for that deer did get hit. A lot of times they don't want to waste that. Typically, a game warden will come and take it. Just because like it would be really easy if you just like see a deer and speed up and nail the thing and be like, oh sweet, a free deer. You can eat it. I would just make sure that you're not running afoul of like needing a tag and stuff like that. Because, man, you talk about fines. You think a speeding ticket sucks? But like not having insurance sucks.
Mm-hmm.
You catch a fish without a tag and a game warden catches you, like it's like $1,000. So I can imagine a deer's probably way more.
Yeah, and I would also be worried about it. Like I said, not every part will be edible because again, you did hit it with your car, so there might be bits and pieces of metal, glass, who knows what that get embedded in the deer that you might not want to bite into.
Something interesting that somebody pointed out the other day too
Engine
was
fluids.
Microplastics.
Yeah.
So they were talking about with like we're getting into fucking science. We're a science channel now.
Yeah.
But like microplastics are like the roads are like the worst for microplastics, and so like if this deer gets like scraped into pavement, basically, this thing has been, and even if it's just been living around roads and stuff like that, there's always road debris getting kicked up. It's eating grass that has microplastics on it, and so it's neither here nor there. I've eaten farmed salmon and stuff like that. It's whatever. It's probably bad for me. There's a bunch of other stuff killing me a lot faster than.
That's the thing. Is like, at the end of the day, is that any worse than like your super processed hot dog?
Just make sure you're not running afoul of needing a tag. And I would be more concerned if it was legal than whether or not it was good. I bet the meat's good, but
ask the cop that shows up to shoot it. There's our
ask
advice.
that guy. Yeah, ask that guy.
He'll be able to tell you what your local laws are.
And as long as you call it in, I think they'll be cool about it.
Yeah.
I think you call it in, they probably have a way of like documenting it or whatever. Honestly, they probably let you pay for the tag, like if you hit it.
I bet you they would because they want that money.
Because I bet you that guy kind of got like a card swiper. Probably shows up like, hey, if you want to buy the tag right now, and you probably take that bad boy home.
Unless some animal control thing lobbied to make sure that all the car. Then it's like a.
Wouldn't surprise
I'm bringing it back to city government.
Anyways, so these guys are doing. We're trying to enforce a curfew.
These guys are jerks and we hate them. And,
so, anyways, yeah, this kind of cancer. I caught so much shit for the things that happened in this city for a long time.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Is like we're the furthest from Minnesota that you can get, basically. And
I can't tell you how many times I heard. Like George Floyd yelled at me, or how many times I had like hands up, don't shoot. I'm like, bro, like, Bill and I both went our entire police career never shot anybody.
Just yell across the road, hey, you gonna eat?
Hey,
you gonna eat that?
You gonna eat that? How do you say that in a northern accent? I gotta
you gotta get Bill. Yeah. Hey, you gonna eat that?
Hey, you gonna eat that?
You gonna eat that?
I have like a terrible Australian
best
accent.
Minnesota accent that I can do. I used to have friends from Minnesota, and I could do it a lot better because I would imitate them. But it's been a while.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think that so there's some case law somewhere up north where that's probably kosher.
Right. All right. So let's kind of see what these guys are up to. I'm gonna turn down.
Still pick us up a little bit.
Yeah, but just so it doesn't pick up.
We can turn down the TV volume too.
Yeah, I put it on caption, so yeah, it should still be audible on the stream, but not as much on us.
Are they deflating tires?
Yeah. Okay. So that was one of the things. That was one of the things that's mentioned in this article that I found this body cam footage on. That was one of the things they were doing. They were deflating tires from protesters, so that they couldn't get in. He was telling them deflate two because they can change one tire. Yeah, they can do one spare tire, but they can't.
So I wonder, my city didn't participate in deflating tires. I wonder. We have an article pulled up here that kind of articulates kind of what's going on.
Yeah, this one kind of this is the summary.
I wonder what their articulation for deflating tires is, so that they can keep the cars there, keep them from driving.
I think that was it. Is they wanted
if they're on foot.
Yeah, here we go. Earlier, the SWAT team had been joking and laughing as they punctured vehicle tires and fired 40mm rubber bullet launchers at people violating curfew, marveling at their weaponry's effectiveness.
Hey man, 40 mic mics are legit.
So that's at the beginning of this video. So that's what they're doing.
So,
it's like
tire. Unless they're worried about getting run over because they're on foot, but like, when is that not an issue? Like, I don't understand why you deflate especially the car's
and it's like if you're trying to enforce curfew, people
let them leave.
Let them get in their cars and leave.
I don't understand deflating a tire.
No,
to be honest,
it doesn't make any sense.
In this context.
No, it seems like they were just doing good old boy shit. Honestly, it's just like, this will be funny. Screw these guys, they can't get home now.
Because even on like under like a curfew deal, what is it like? If your car's present here, maybe we're gonna puncture your tire. How do they know that they're gonna be there?
How do you know that that's their
parked?
car?
Yeah.
Like, how do you know they don't just live there? You know, more movement. Blah, blah, blah.
So I think this guy holding up this rifle, I'm such a gun nut. I'm a weirdo. I think so they have these little cannon rounds. Basically, they have like a barrel adapter that holds it'll hold a 40 millimeter size projectile, and they'll fire a blank that'll chunk out that it shoots it out a lot of force though. A blank's got a lot of force in it.
Yeah.
And it won't be enough to cycle the gun, but it's enough to chug basically like a beer can.
Well, I mean, if you're close enough, it can kill you. So yeah, blanks are no joke. Turn around, walk, rock, blah blah blah. Okay.
I understand that. Yeah. I've done that.
Here, and then we can push a little farther for
There's
some
no
doors.
just to like turn around.
Oh, okay.
Like leave.
Link up with them. Yeah, maybe 4 or 5 to just
okay, so they're coordinating
or do you
where
just
they're going,
stay
it looks
here?
like.
I don't know if they're going to be able to pop doors. I'm seeing people running out of doors. Oh, okay, I got you. All right. Unless they got extra people for apprehension. I'm sure they do.
Apprehension for violating curfew? Cool, man. Cool police work here. I mean, it is. If you're protecting the residents, you have no problem with it. We had people threatening to burn down our Walmarts and stuff like that, and we had people trying to burn down sports stadiums and stuff like that.
Where I work. Boarded up.
And again, like I said, peacekeeping. I disperse crowds all the time. We had a nightclub at the time. It's shut down now, but at the time, they were like completely in violation of the agency. They were constantly having shootings, and we were like maximum enforcement because it was a huge.
If they're locked, well, they can push them open from the inside.
I don't know how it
would just be more. Are we looking to actually apprehend?
I don't know that there was a single night that we didn't have issues. Fights were breaking out. We were getting PWIs because they were way over serving.
Strike 5 asked where to go. Do you want them on the northwest?
Okay, so what this officer here was asking if they're actually looking to apprehend the people or if they're just dispersing them.
Yeah,
he said they dispersed this group.
No.
You should just
1281. Just strike 5. You can be on the northwest corner of Kmart.
Strike 5.
Cute call sign.
And it really, I can't stress how weird it was being a cop in 2020. There were times where this is what your night was like. I'm gonna be honest. It was weird to be on standby, waiting for riots to break out or when they did happen. Fortunately, where I work, they weren't as bad as this one. This was terrible. But, it was odd. We had to go to work every single day, with riot gear. As full on. It's more than even what they are wearing.
Oh, look at that guy go. What is he doing? Tokyo drifting over here.
Yeah, I don't understand. I guess they're redirecting that guy?
I guess so.
I don't know why they'd be on foot unless they're just looking for pedestrians. Okay, that's
You got a gun?
So this is one of those. Again, this is a great example of how body cams are very limited, because as you can not see here, you can't see a damn thing of what he's shooting at. You have no clue what he's shooting at.
I also can't tell if that's a modified rifle to shoot out less lethal munitions or just a straight up rifle. Because so you got to think you're always subject to use of force evaluations. Anytime you do everything they're doing is a use of force, to be honest. And so if I'm
breaking curfew for Kmart of all stores, yeah, no kidding.
That's pretty.
I didn't even know Kmart's are still around.
But not down here.
Yeah, definitely not down here.
But the problem is if you're going to level a gun at somebody, you're gonna have to articulate why. Technically, these guys should all be filling out use of force reports, articulating every single time they apply deadly force to somebody. So, like you were saying, there's no way to qualify whether or not, and maybe they specify afterwards, or whatever. But I mean, if that's like a legit, if that is not a less lethally equipped rifle, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm. And I believe they are, at least according to the article that I saw.
Yeah.
These are all less lethal rounds. 40 millimeter.
It's just like I can see the magazine.
Yeah.
It looks like a standard like AR-15 magazine.
That's true.
And so like I don't understand why homies here at like the low ready.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of guys that we're just dealing with here. We're in this right now. They're coming down Blaisdell right here. We're crossing. 1281 to strike 5. You have a group moving towards you from the north down Blaisdell towards your position.
Be a dog walking group. I don't know.
None of that went through.
None
of that went through. Somebody's talking.
I get it. If you're really worried about them burning down the city, I get it. Because again, arson's a crime. You're trying to prevent arson. Like I kind of get that. Or again, they're busting up buildings and stuff like that. And again, if that's what's happening and it's criminal mischief in progress, you know what I'm doing? Bro, I'm 40 Mike and everybody, and I'm zip tying dudes. Everybody's going to jail. I'm all for it too. Dallas did this wild thing where they
trapped everybody on the bridge.
Yeah.
They told them to go to the bridge, and then they're like, "Great, cool. We're closing the order behind you, and we're zip tying everybody up."
Like that's pretty metal. I respect that game.
The chief got lit up for that one.
But I mean, ultimately, it's better than getting non-lethal to death.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are just out there randomly.
But they did that too. They hit one lady who was just getting her groceries in the face with a non-lethal round.
And this is kind of my issue with the application of non-lethal munitions.
1281 to strike T5. You got a group coming.
Kind of indiscriminately like this because again, it really should be. Because honestly, most groups, as police approach, they don't want to get touched. They don't want to get grabbed. They don't want to go to jail. If you just walk towards a group of people and there's enough of you, don't do it like by yourself. But if there's enough of you and cops, you're going like 30 or 40 at a time to a group of people, they're going to disperse. And that's what you want. So you just organize yourself in a way that makes sense. You just kind of, and if all you're doing is moving them around the city, at least you know where they're at.
Underneath.
Pull up, they were going to set the building on fire.
Underneath.
Tell us about when they were going to set the building on fire.
Do what?
So she's asking, they were going to set the building on fire. You mentioned.
Yeah. So we would get in threats so that basically, we had like a fusion center that was monitoring social media, bro. Like law enforcement's wild. So we literally have. They were called ATIU with us. So it's what's it called? I don't remember what the acronym stood for, but basically these are like internet sleuths. And they would sleuth the internet for intel. So you'd have like an Instagram account that was tied to somebody that was like, yeah, we're going to riot, right? And so they would actually organize, like idiots, they would organize online. We also have like fake accounts that just join things. They'll share what they need to share that people think they're legit. And then they'll be part of, a lot of times they do it with hoochies. Mm-hmm. You be careful, man. You think bots are sketchy. Bro, cop hoochie accounts are a thing. We'll take some random person. I think we even have just like cops. We'll just find, I guess, the most attractive female cops we have and be like, hey, take some hoochie pictures and we'll make a fake account because we don't want to get sued for using somebody else's likeness.
Right. And
they'll like get into people's like groups so that they can have access because normally without a warrant you wouldn't be able to do it. Mm-hmm. So anyways, we would get intel that they were going to come, so they were throwing bricks through our Walmart. They talked about burning that down, and so our SRT got deployed out to that. They prevented that. Well, then they marched down to our station, our main station, and God bless whoever was working the desk. I worked the desk the day before. I did not work the desk that day. They threw some bricks through those windows. We had like SWAT on standby and everything for that. They eventually chickened out. They went up to our fire station. They were burning the flags and something else on our fire station. And eventually they were like, okay, we gotta get them out of here. And so unfortunately our group wasn't big enough to be doing that, but periodically we would get groups of people that would either make empty threats where we're having to respond anyways. We would give some level of police presence there. Mm-hmm. But oftentimes the issue became, and again, we had, I think it was a lounge, but it was like a bar. And they would just all congregate there. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. And there's like 200 people there, and they were waiting for police response. So they're doing donuts in the parking lot. They're all getting hammered. You get guys randomly doing desk pops in the freaking parking lots. Of course, eventually there's going to be a police response, and we can't just respond. We're not about to send like 3 officers, so we'd send like 20. Mm-hmm. And you'd get there, and we'd hear shots as we're showing up. And we're like, oh, crap. Okay, give us the channel. You'd send everyone and their mother there. And it was just a constant, like, heat check of you have people basically trying to antagonize the police and goad the police into stuff. And a lot of times we had, again, stuff thrown at police vehicles. We had, like, broken windshields. And I think we had 2 or 3 attempts at arson. Most of them, they weren't very good arsonists, fortunately, in our state, in our city. But we did have adjoining municipalities that did have buildings actually burn. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of the issue. So I didn't personally sit there and see a building get caught on fire, but I know that there were attempts. Or we at least get intelligence that there were attempts. And a lot of times you're lucky. If you get intelligence, you see a couple cops out there, marked units, they see that nobody wants to go to jail. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of the whole point of having uniformed officers in marked vehicles and all that stuff.
Officer presence.
Yeah, it's for once a thing when you're trying to prevent riots and buildings from burning. But we'll keep playing this clip. Mm-hmm. I'm just kind of analyzing like their tactics and kind of what they're just kind of roaming about.
Yeah, they seem to just be kind of set up in this area. I wish we had a kind of a better idea of the layout of this area.
They have a unit.
Mm-hmm. But apparently, according to the comments, I skipped over to minute 36, I think, mm-hmm. which is where the comment kind of says this is when they begin talking about ambushing people on the bridge. Which seems to be the first, like,
a group with some cones right over the bridge.
Yeah, there you go.
Headed this way. Headed this way, guys.
Let him come.
Ambush.
Let him come.
Why? You're trying to disperse him.
Yeah.
He's got to have some sort of attachment. You're not going to there's no level. If he's legit leveling a rifle with these guys, like under what deadly threat? Yeah, it's got to be less lethal. Yeah. I'm going to give this guy the benefit of the doubt until he's got a less lethal. Right. I don't know why you have a less lethal rifle. Because they have like their little 44 or those little 40 millimeter launchers. It's like a tube with a stock on it. They don't have a magazine coming down or anything like that. So that's what I find weird about this little setup here. Mm-hmm. And I mean, he's got like a little aim point, red dot on, so it's not magnified. So it's not like he's using, and even if he was magnified, you should not be using a rifle scope as a binocular. You are not in Fallujah.
Luke, we can all go down there. We can leave this position. We'll take care of it.
All right, they're coming now.
Hold.
So in our policy, when we were dealing with you're just trying to disperse, we would
hit him. Get the fuck out of here!
Yeah.
Come on, boy.
Bottom right.
I can't climb.
Okay, mount up.
Who's this guy? He wanted to, he wasn't. So, when using less lethal force, it's used as a de-escalation tool because you don't want to have to use deadly force. You typically got to give
how many blast balls we got?
An opportunity to comply, unless there's some exigent circumstances.
I need to get a few up here when you get a chance.
So,
I think I lost mine.
What I saw was these big people walking across the bridge, and maybe they were trying to enter the city.
All right, we're going down to Lake and Blaze.
Right? This guy's doesn't say, hey, don't cross that bridge. And they said, no, F you, cop. Okay, pop off at that point. Really, I can understand that. I don't want to approach them. Especially at this time, you also got to think that there was the epidemic. I don't know what I can tell you to not get canceled.
Group to the right.
We didn't know what was happening. This is too early, I think, for us to get there. Yeah, this is like...
We were like a month and a half there.
Lights.
We have just been told that, like, oh no, you should wear masks.
So I don't know why they're just getting on bullhorn and telling them to leave.
Hey, boss, where are we going again? Sorry, I missed that.
Just south on
Right down Lake and Blaisdell.
Copy.
But hey, go home. That's how we did it. I drive around to my patrol car all the time. Hey, go home. Even if it was just like a house party or something, I was like, bro, you guys need to chill. I can't make them. I'm just going, hey, go home.
So that's good at least.
It's officer presence. This is all very passive.
We got too many people here.
Yeah.
Yeah, good here.
You got more blast balls back there?
Well, you ran out?
We're not throwing any triple shots, huh?
No.
What?
Tires.
Trooper 9, can you advise how many people are on top of the bridge, Stevens First Avenue?
Hey man, it's on body cam. Prepare to be judged.
Right. Hey, it's our buddies.
God,
There's
no
our
kidding.
buddies. Look at that.
We're all cops. Hey, else doing that? Golly.
Where's Johnny? He wasn't back here.
Okay, so now I can hear protesters out there. Now there's a difference between protesters
They
and
gotta hit these guys from the south side and wheel them
I hear
north.
chanting, which gives me the
Bunny's
protester
got a
vibe.
circle.
But
Okay, then let's cross it.
you cease to become a protester when you start to become a disturbance. And I'm not saying it's vague.
Where's Johnny?
You're waking people up. No, I'm talking like you're destroying property, you're blocking loops of cars. I mean, technically the cops are
You guys want to get put a couple two guys down here to watch, make sure we're not getting flanked, because you're onesie twosie they can do that.
This is also during
Where do you want us, Johnny?
For now, right here,
Again,
I think they're looking at doing a mass arrest.
But even then, like,
I think it should probably happen on Lake Street. We're gonna try and get a couple of teams coordinated to come together and pinch this group, and then have the arrest team come in. But I don't know how that's gonna work. It's fucking, you know. Yeah, that's good.
Should we take like two cart guys and two of our guys and put them over here to make sure that we don't get flanked through that parking lot?
Sure, that'll work.
Two of your guys and two of my guys, Andy? They see the cops coming in the alley and they're running. What is? They see the cops right in the alley and they're starting to run.
All right, well, should we advance?
Have my team come to the intersection of 31st and Stevens right now. We're taking projectiles off the bridge.
So a lot of the radio traffic that I'm hearing, some of this you can't kind of hear from the I'm shocked that there's not more cops running. I think there was gathering. Okay. I was like, bro, you got cops that need stuff.
My guess is a lot of these cops were just like, these cops were following around. They were in other areas hanging out. When they were talking about ambushing along the bridge or whatever. Again, I don't know where this is.
You're behind my back.
Oh, what? This guy just OC someone laying down? What the heck? Why? Put some zip ties on him. Call it a day. Okay, so far. Again, less lethal munitions are designed.
That's what blast balls are, by the way. The less lethal munitions.
Yes, this is less lethal. So blast balls are like they're like paintballs, but they're spicy paintballs.
Usually
Is what
called
they are.
like,
Yeah.
rubber bullets, or are these the ones that actually have like OC whatever on them?
They're probably referring to. It's not an official name. Blast balls.
Yeah.
They're probably referring to the rubber pellets, which are the 40 millimeter like rubber balls, basically. They also have pepper balls.
Very painful nerf.
Like you're not allowed to do it. I think inside of, I think like 20 feet, because it could be potentially fatal.
Yeah,
You got to do it.
They're less lethal, not non-lethal.
And again, I really think it's a great tool for de-escalating at a distance. I really do believe that. If I'm like, hey, you guys need to not cross this bridge, this city's whatever, they're like, no, F you, I'm going to go burn down that CVS. And you're like, well, no, like, I don't want to get into a fist fight with a group full of people, right? It's bad for us. It's bad for them. People are going to get hurt. It's not a good look. Well, if they're insistent that they're going to cross that bridge and they're making that way across that bridge, let's say it's 60 foot worth of bridge, I'd start taking pot shots with rubber bullets at guys at 40 feet. 100%. Maybe that first couple and it gets everybody to leave. It's done its job successfully. I've injured 1 or 2 people instead of 50. Because fights suck, man. Fights suck a lot. Again, it's putting the officer in a position to get injured. It's also putting people in a position to get really injured. And again, it's also increasing the amount of error that can occur. Because you start increasing stress, you're introducing weapons into that, bad things can happen. I think the original intent by the designers was, hey, I can go pop somebody at 40 yards or 50 yards and be like, hey, man, go away. But you have to articulate that.
Aren't they supposed to be like shot at the ground and bounced up, or is that...
The old ones were, yes. Okay. Those were actually made of wood.
Oh, damn.
And so these are designed to impact you, but I think you're supposed to aim... I think you're even supposed to aim from like the sternum down.
Yeah.
I don't think you're even supposed to try to hit him in the chest if you're too close, because it could like pop their sternum or whatever.
Well, also that
I don't know. I'm not trained on it. I was never issued these. I didn't mess with those at all. But
there's also that thing that happens to like baseball players and they get hit in the chest and it hits it at the right time and it stops their heart
or something weird like that. I'm sure there's some lawsuit somewhere out there where some lawyer's proud of it. But all I'm saying is like what got me was you have somebody laying on the ground. There's nobody on them. And you just get an OC sprayed, like OC bath.
And walk right past them.
Yeah. And they're all wearing gas masks, so it really won't affect them as much as it's going to affect everyone else there. And again, I'm a proponent of using OC in that setting to disperse a crowd. But if someone's laying on the ground, like, I don't know. I would have gotten written up if not fired for that. My department cared a little more than that. That wouldn't have flown.
Well, it also seems kind of silly to just walk past them because you don't know what they're going to do.
That's what I'm getting at. You're not doing anything to apprehend them. You're not doing anything. Well, and again, you should have an apprehension. They were talking about whether they wanted to do apprehension or not. If you're going to if you're going to use force on somebody, you have to at least get them identified. Because you got to do a use force report. For us, that was the case.
Yeah.
So and maybe they see some of that for I don't know, man. Because maybe this would be super cumbersome from a paperwork standpoint, but I don't think that alleviates you from the need to be transparent and saying, this is how many uses of force we had. This is how many whatever. If they're not documenting any of this stuff, what are you doing? You're being lackeys. Is what you're doing. I don't know.
1281 we own Pillsbury and Lake.
Cool person that got OC guy. He has to do some cardio. He didn't run very far. Come on, man.
Car coming.
That is a concern. This I did have to deal with periodically. Because if you're on foot like that, like you're mobilized on foot like that was definitely a concern. And they did have cops get hit and run over in these things. So that I can kind of understand. And typically you would have 1 or 2 people within that crowd. When I got rifle certified, it ended up being you all the time. That was lethal force for that very reason. If you're going to go into a very hostile environment, you didn't want everyone making use of force decisions. They would just kind of put that in the hands of 1 or 2 people.
Man on the ground straight the crime of existing. Damn.
No, seriously. That's kind of what made me mad is like they're just laying there. The old boy just kind of goes up and like does the OC equivalent of curb stomping that dude. Like, I don't know. Like that was kind of shitty. I've been OC'd. It's terrible. And that's like the bear can size of it. Yeah, that sucks. OCs, that guy's having a miserable next 45 minutes of his life.
Yeah, he's still there.
Well, but again, what are they doing to apprehend? Put him in cuffs, get him in a unit, get him out of there. At least in a paddy wagon. Something. Because if you're using force, if you felt that it was appropriate enough to use force on them, when they're doing some sort of crime and you're apprehending them. This guy's zip tied at least, but let's get him transported. You give him a mic back?
What the hell are you knocking stuff over for, man?
Alright, there's nothing in here. Any rocks? Any of that stuff?
1281, we'll need transport for 4 parties, arrested parties. Lake and Pills.
Boss?
Hi.
Bring those prisoners back here.
Get him up.
Get up.
You got flex cuffs or what?
No cuffs.
Where's your cuffs?
I have regular cuffs. I don't have flex cuffs.
No, flex.
Flex cuffs.
Flex.
Flex cuffs. Flex cuffs. Flex cuffs. Get some flex cuffs on here. Let's go. I need 3.
I need medical attention.
Flex cuffs.
There you go.
Can you stand up, please?
I need medical attention. I need medical attention. I need medical attention. I need medical attention.
Corey. What do we got? Corey, numbers? We can fall back just a tad.
Yeah.
We can fall back. Let's go back to Pills.
Okay.
Oh,
We got 10. We got 2 over here.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, if they want to just be our rear guard.
I just want to stay right where they're at.
There's no reason to hold that area by the bridge and take Rock. You can move your team out of that area. Yes, sir. We're in the
Strike Team 5, can you get south of Lake on Pleasant and come north? That guy. That's our rear guard, okay? He needs to watch what we're doing as we move.
All right.
You want to explain that to him?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to leave this intersection and we're just going to keep slowly moving.
Well, right. He's going to have to watch.
They're walking him back. The uniform cuff, not us.
Okay.
So we're good.
1281, disregard the request for arrest team at Lake and Pleasant.
All right, I just talked to Alice because things got messed up. She was also strike team 8.
Huh?
Alice said she was strike team 8 as well.
Yeah.
And so are we, but I told her from here on out, I'm strike team 8. So if you need to talk to me, just say strike team 8 and you and I will communicate back and forth. I think I'm good right now, buddy. Thank you.
1405, we're pushing west. Do you want us to continue or abandon this? Okay, copy. Sergeant Lockey, let me know when you're in place. can only do this one more time.
All right.
Johnny! Johnny, where are all your cars?
At 5th Precinct. 5th Precinct. P5.
Well, you're just gonna...
No lights or sirens, just come down and start getting around.
We might have overextended ourselves.
In front of you and this group,
We need to get all your cars over here, because we're gonna just fall back.
be advised there were approximately 6 individuals in this group that are
Well, do we have enough time to have our drivers run back, get the cars?
Yeah, go tell them to do that.
Hold on.
Get all your vehicles back. Hey, good job.
We got here early, but
Try.
They can grab.
I know. Now we got to see
One person from each squad, go back to P5 or wherever your car is, grab them and come back here. Move now. Everyone else hold the line.
We're driving, go,
I got it. 9901 to our strike team that is dismounted. We need to be remounted. We need to get back to the vehicle.
And he can guard the squad.
Yeah,
Can
he
he
can guard
drive?
the squad.
Okay, you're going to be as a driver then.
Yeah.
Who was all in that parking lot?
It was you and me.
Stats?
That's what's up.
In
We
that,
got that dude in the
that
back.
dude in the back?
Found a dude in the back.
The Popeyes and the rest of
Are
the
we up?
back? Were you
What's
there
our
or no?
numbers?
Popeyes? Or whatever.
Where's Corey? Kush! It's only anyone to the van. We up? Oh, Billy. You gonna be my partner now? Come on.
I wish I was out there. Dude, last night on Lake Street, we were taking, it wasn't like overrun, but we could have been real quick. They deployed us without a fucking car team.
I know.
It's fucking bullshit.
It's hard.
And then tonight, they call and they're like, you're going to be a booking squad. I said, no, I'm not. I had to give up 4 guys. Bear took care of me, just said, give me 4 people. I'm like, I can't do it. I'd fucking lose my mind. I was so fucking pissed. But now, they tell me I'm strike team 8. They give Alice strike team 8 too. But I'm just staying here at strike team 8.
He's got 2 sergeants too. Some have.
No, I know, but they're on days and we're on nights. It was,
Well, we'll figure it out, but we have one sergeant, truthfully.
What's that?
It says we truthfully have one sergeant. I've been pulling my fucking hair out all night.
Really?
Yeah.
We're back on
Just take over, man. You can
I have been. Trying to get on. We're good. I'm good.
Okay.
I just
We
need
seem like brothers,
another
or
cup
they
of
seem
coffee.
like brothers?
That's outstanding.
you know what that's from?
No, you need a shot of whiskey.
This was But now, they tell me I'm strike team 8. They give Alice strike team 8 too. But I'm just staying here at strike team 8.
He's got 2 sergeants too. Some have.
No, I know, but they're on days and we're on nights. It was.
Well, we'll figure it out, but we have one sergeant, truthfully.
What's that?
It says we truthfully have one sergeant. I've been pulling my fucking hair out all night.
Really?
Yeah, it's terrible.
Just take over, man. You can
I have been, but trying to get on. We're good. I'm good.
Okay.
I just need another cup of coffee. That's outstanding.
You know what that's from?
No, you need a shot of this.
This was last call.
But I tell you what, these are some builds here.
We're not pushing any further that way. We're falling back.
All right. I was grabbing one of the gals that didn't want to leave when we first got there. I grabbed her and I was bringing her to the sidewalk and she like turned and then we hit the curb and I fell down. So she was arrested.
Okay? Are you okay?
Yeah, I mean I hit my elbow. But just so you know, it wasn't like force. I hit a curb when she took away from me. It was super.
Just so you know, there wasn't like forced use. She just ended up on the pavement. And I got an injury.
Yeah.
That he's probably not going to claim because he doesn't want to do the paperwork for it.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, my guy.
Mm-hmm.
I have a sergeant. I have a scar. You can see it right here.
Yeah.
I have a scar on my arm. Let's see if I can get the.
You might be able to see it.
You might be able to see it. I have a scar right here on my arm from kicking a door in it was a triple shooting. It was a dope rip. And so anyways, these guys shoot at each other. It's dope rip gone wrong. These guys knew it was a dope house. This dude and his cousin show up. Door opens. This guy's like, gets robbed in his apartment.
Mm-hmm.
The shooting at the OK Corral happens. Well, a lot of these rounds go through the door. It's a metal door. It's an aluminum door. So they're like mushroom out, and they make all these like sharp little edges. Anyways, I was the idiot that showed up as me and the other Josh that you know.
Yeah.
You've met him. And so we're the first ones that are like idiots. Like idiot. I thought, let's clear it. It was New Year's. 2019. No, it was 2020 New Year's.
Oh, damn.
God, it was a terrible year. And so anyways, we boot the door. And the door like ends up shutting on me, and so I have to like use my arm to push the door open. And it's not even that bad. It wasn't even that bad of a cut, but it bled a ton because it's like a really sharp like razor blade basically. And so I get done clearing the house, and like my body cam for that was hilarious. You literally just hear me saying shit. Cause I really thought I was gonna get shot. So I was like, there was, I think they expended like 60 rounds, and there was blood everywhere in that apartment. And so I'm thinking, like, whoever the homeowner was or whoever the guy that got shot was, like, crawled into some closet and is, like, standing there, like, Custard Last Stand style, pointing his little Gucci Glock at the
Yeah.
I was like, police! I was, like, yelling, police! Like, don't shoot me! But anyways, the guy ended up, everyone got taken to the hospital. But my supervisor looked at me and was like, hey, man, you got a cut on your arm. I was like, oh, shit, I got a cut on my arm. He's like, yeah, you're doing paperwork for that. Like, right off the bat, he's like, no. We're not going to have you. I also cut my arm on, like, a super bloody door. So, like, I got exposed and all that stuff. So, it's the exposure report. Yeah. But, like, you're not going to, with a straight face, show an injury that's work-related to a sergeant that gives a shit and should be in his job. And is like, yeah, I like didn't use force, but like she hit the pavement. And,
pavement. We both fell.
And like I cut my arm, like a fucking what an idiot. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out.
Is our route going to be on Lake? Because that's fucked.
Well, I don't know.
We tried to go that in front of Kmart out there. They got barricades.
What do you think
and
about 31st?
Perfect. We haven't been on that. We'll give it a shot. Yeah. So when we get out of here, you can maybe take a couple of blocks.
Well, we'll go as far as we can.
Yeah. And then we'll go back down to 31st and shoot across on that.
Because that's a good thoroughfare.
Works for me. So it was super graceful because she was big gal.
We saw the big gal. So you want to go see that?
When's this gonna die? Somebody dropped this, and I picked it up.
I think I know a couple guys who'll take it.
Into my mind. Yeah, it was the second time we did that.
How's your number?
You're actually right.
Your car's here?
They're getting yours now.
Are you guys
Get them
gonna
turned around. Get them turned around.
They are. They're
They get to make a show about all this dumb stuff.
I'll tell those guys.
It was
Are we
awful.
leaving it out or are you guys?
No,
We're
it was
going that
it was
way.
quite nice.
You're going that way.
120 is kind of
Okay, so we're going on Lake Street as far, and then
Just go back. Just abandon this.
where are we going? To threes
It was
or?
like kids sneaking out.
I don't know if they need you over in threes. We'll just ask
I
on
can't
the
tell
air
you how
what they
many
need.
times.
You know what I
It
mean?
needs like a
Rocky said we were
You're driving around and you're like,
I'm with
dude,
Rocky.
it's
Oh, okay. So
Like
we're
a
not
random
going with
car
you
park
guys.
somewhere.
Yeah,
Where you like shine your flashlight at it and it'd be all foggy. And like,
You want to tell?
I just like
you want to tell
squawk
this
my horn a
guy?
little bit.
He's got to turn around.
Yeah,
If he wants to do it now, he can.
I just wait for him to drive.
And then once we get it down there, do you know what our mission's going to be?
I don't know what this guy
I
is.
can't tell you how
He's-
many times.
he's
Bro,
eight,
find a
strike
better
team,
hiding
eight, cart
spot.
team.
That'd be cool with it.
This guy? Yep. Holy shit.
So he's with us.
Where's the?
I'm detailed to him.
How many they got in there?
We're not. They got lethal. They got a 40 mil. They got shotgun less lethal.
How many do?
4. And plus 5 plus the driver. 5 with the
Do you have
driver.
anybody on the line?
My team is on the line. I'm detailed with them.
Depends on the administrator.
Do you want to?
Some administrators be like, you know what, you're not supposed to on
Turn around.
Yeah, have him break a line and just have him turn around. Okay, mount up.
As long as you're on the right foot, it's okay. But they can write you up for conduct under time if you're in any point on duty and testing. I've seen this.
Do you really have a location where we're going, or we're just guessing?
I'm asking on the air.
Thank you.
Yep.
We found it way back there, and then up, and then she started.
Skip. Skip.
1281.
So this is their van.
Yep. So this they're driving.
Fuck. They're going. Keep going. Keep going.
Some poor bastard's gonna watch this whole thing.
We take a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of people out here.
Let's go right. Hammer it.
Crazy. I bet though, they probably ran the program and transferred it as was said and
What do you want me to take the Hiawatha up?
No, keep
So
going.
they have like a document search.
That is
obviously like if you can't,
Cedar.
if it's not super clear or whatever, you are gonna have to sit there and do it yourself.
We're south on Cedar.
For stuff like this, they can
Can we cut them west then on,
Same in the,
on Lake?
in the west, the same place we were the other day.
Yep.
South on Cedar.
Yep.
Okay, 5 minutes before
Oh, I believe it.
Obviously, that's Lake and Hiawatha. If we need to move a strike team behind them.
Right here, Steph.
A lot of cop cars. Holy.
We got vehicle security.
You do?
Yeah, we're standing back here, but all we got is spray.
That is the lamest job. Car security is cancer. You have to do it though, don't be an idiot. I had to lecture my rookies doing 20. I was stuck babysitting 7 rookies, half of which didn't have any business in the street. And we had to deal with dispersing a crowd. And they were, again, doing donuts in parking lots and stupid stuff. And they left their cars unattended, and it's like got a breakthrough into them. You see? Bro, Lisa, you're a P1 of P1. I because a aunt really came. Don't make fun of things like this. I know you don't.
It's just a typo.
Yeah.
You can't add from 2020. Too young for it.
How young is too young to be an ant?
So you can't add
Oh, I'm just saying.
We're gonna get Chris Hansen.
No, I'm just saying. Like, bro, we're Mexican.
I already have the Chris thing that it's not for kids.
Yeah.
We just fucked him up and now we're leaving.
I guess it automatically.
And then get out of here. And then we're gonna hit him again.
Daylight is down short, Mose.
We were going that way. All of a sudden we met a wall of like 500.
Oh, wow.
Form the line, form the line.
That's what it sounded like.
And the boys got it. But then we just said, fuck it. We said, he goes, okay, let's go do something else. But,
Well, that's what we keep doing. We did that over there, too. We pushed them all the way down to, like, Grand. And how's it going? Good, how you been?
Security? Man, it's like, I mean, this is police work. I mean, it's super boring for the most part. I need them rolling around indiscriminately shooting their stuff.
I don't want this place burning!
I think this is it. So this upcoming part is the part that got them shot from the pad.
Okay.
That girl by the parking lot.
Right in here, right in here.
Oh, okay.
Right here in this parking lot. 17th and Lake.
Watch it on TV.
Go, go, go. Get up there. Get up there. Get up there.
He's ready.
Let him have it, boys. Let him have it.
I get it. Or if they're breaking stuff, I get it.
Get out of here!
Again, it needs to be get out of here, and you need to wait for him to say no, and then I get it.
Right there. Get him, get him, get him. Hit him, hit him.
Also, where are your lights, bro? And this is the thing. Where are your lights? You're in a Ford Transit van.
Hey, should I pop the tires, Sarge? Sarge, should I pop the tires?
Should I pop the tires?
No. Nothing to leave. I get it if you're worried about them running you over and crazy like that.
No.
I tell you what, dude, this is like the worst thing ever. You're having to be like perimeter security for this, or you can get
All right. Right here at 17th and Lake. Hold up, guys. Hold up.
I'm protecting this place! I don't want this place burning!
We gotta go inside. We gotta go inside.
Oh, they're not lethal this guy?
So I saw the Vice. So there's a Vice News guy in there too with them. So basically, they've been getting like looted and stuff. So they brought out the whole family.
Officers at 17th and Lake put all these people inside the business. All these
and they were there defending the store.
She said I'm at least 2 weeks old.
1281 to the van.
There it is.
Yeah, and so they were like barricaded in there. The police showed up, thought they were looters, I guess, and became a whole thing.
What? Bro, again, getting good information. Before you're indiscriminately shooting at a crowd. And again, like, are they documenting all these use of forces? I wonder, you know?
Yeah.
Like, how does that go?
All officers at 17th and Lake, mount up.
So those coughs that he's randomly getting, I wonder if that's from, like, residual OC. It's just, like, chilling in the air.
Yeah, that water he's
Put your mask on. I don't know why you ever took it off. If you know there's residual OC, bro, OC hits, even secondary OC hits, suck. Nothing is more uncomfortable than OC.
They probably should have been spraying people on the ground. What?
For existing. I love that.
Come on! Northwest corner.
We probably heard them talk on the radio too. So we had a really nice
Just
gas.
keep going,
They had like a little sound box in them. So you click it. It sounded kind of like Darth Vader, but you could still talk on the radio with it.
Nice.
That's a group up there.
Yep.
There's a group up there, God forbid. The texting in me like glares the whole thing.
Got a group on my left.
Are they doing anything?
That's what I'm getting at. It's like
Are you more concerned with like a group of 500 people?
yeah, that I understand. And I'm like, okay, like they need to make sure. And a lot of times it's just making sure that they're.
Like you look bottom right corner, there's like 2 people there. Did he pot shot him, Adam? Like,
Got a group on my left.
Bottom right, there's like 1 or 2 people just walk in.
Trooper 9, do you have an updated location?
Keep going past them.
You want me to go this way or you want to go past? Group to south, go to that building.
That sounds like wet people.
Go home!
See, that's all you're
Group in the parking lot to the north.
I'd be having lights on.
Group in the parking lot to the north, running.
On, somebody go home.
Yeah, it's like again, you're in a white van.
Shots fired.
Oh, now they're yelling shots fired. Yeah, no kidding. Rolling up in a white van with no reds and blues going. Take pot shots at a dude.
So I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna count the number of people, and I get it, they just got shot at, but I'm gonna count the number of officers that just got pointed at by the time.
Hit him.
Shots fired. Yeah. One. Okay, two, like 3, 4, 5. Yeah, leave, man. Get it together. And I'm okay with
like his arm or something.
Yeah, and I'm okay with how aggressive his takedown was because he was just get shot at. To be honest, like I have no issue with. A lot of people realize how bad that looks like.
That's it, stop it! Cuff, cuff, cuff! It's okay!
Why are you punching him?
I don't know why you're punching him. That I'm not okay with. He's complying. Hands behind his back. There's zero reason to be punching.
Nothing about why that maybe this looks bad?
1281. Priority. Shots fired. 2 suspects in custody. Gun recovered. We are at.
Oh, dang, you got a mini Draco. My guy. Bro, he wasn't playing around. They're lucky none of them are dead. Good.
But, like, okay, so here's the great. That does not look like a police vehicle whatsoever. And that's where I'm just like.
Oh, I get it. I get it.
Somebody starts shooting at me from a white van, you bet your ass I'm shooting back.
Okay, what are you doing? Put your gun up, my dude.
14th and leg, 14th and leg.
Or if you're gonna be gun up, how about you be looking away at the people that aren't in custody? How about you be looking for secondaries?
Fucker.
I get it, there's a fucking...
Put him in recovery. Recovery.
To be fair, also hitting concrete is not kind of close. You gotta understand,
1281, I need a
deadly force was used on them.
here code.
Again, they didn't hop off.
3.
Which would have been
For an arrested
theoretically
party injuries.
You know, now they would have asked
recovery
if you're
position
shooting people with fucking not
labored breathing.
They are calling for medical.
Safe route in is from the east.
So they do know how to do that in the That's weird.
Crazy.
Sit him up, sit him up, sit him
Put
up.
him in a recovery position so they can still breathe. That's wild.
Crazy. These guys got shot at.
Somebody!
Yeah.
Think about that. These legit got shot at. Now, whoever was, we call it being north, which means you do the head. Whoever was slugging that guy, especially if I was a supervisor, I'd have punched him in the face.
There was a magazine here
There
too.
was a magazine right here.
I'm like, you need to
Is
stop.
he sitting on it?
Was it like a 9mm?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was sitting right here.
9mm. Did he chunk it in?
I think he's sitting on it.
I would have done the same
thing to do. I just get on the
ground.
ground.
Code 4. We need that medical code 3.
Shit. And they complied. So, I mean, you just can't blame them.
I'm going to recover this.
They saved their own lives, but I mean, I
Yeah, because we're going to want to test that. We'll just wait.
not the one the criminal case?
Four shooters.
Oh, yeah.
What? Who shot? Nobody. He shot at us, and then he fucking gave up.
Nice.
Anybody shoot?
Let's harden up around here, okay?
Well, no, not the losers.
1280 on me. 1280 on me. Okay. There's that magazine.
Cover a mag. Who's missing one?
No, that's his. Leave that there. Don't touch it. That's theirs. There's two guns.
I have my glove.
It's okay. Did you touch it?
I grabbed it with my glove. It was nice.
Okay, you're all right. You're all right. Just leave it there. It was there when we came up. It's okay.
Okay, they need to get everybody away from this. This is a shooting scene. You're stepping on shell casings. You're stepping on all the like forensics here. Like they need to be clearing all that shit out. So it's getting the tape out. At least process.
Put him
it.
on his butt.
If you don't think there's a crime scene out there because your city's about to catch fire,
Get on your
what's
butt.
going on? Start taking pictures. Start doing all that.
1281 on me. What? No, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Okay, they come to me and I could get a fucking head count.
Yeah, it's hard to say what the fuck's going on.
I want to straight.
I tell you what, though, I'm gonna be honest. Those guys are lucky they got in there.
1281. Get all those guys on me.
Actually,
on me. 1281. 1281. 1281.
Easy. You really like held that thing down. And just like emptied it into that van. The way they came out of that van, like. And again, if you got your reds and blues on, and you got one guy that's the low rating, he's less lethal, I get it. He's lethal option in case some guy decides to pop off. They're talking about killing cops.
AD.
We had to deal with that all the time.
AD. Anybody shoot?
As somebody that was the rifle
Anybody
person
shoot bullets?
for my shift.
Okay, I'm just checking. That's fine. Leave him on. I just want to know. Anybody shoot a gun? No. No one shot a gun? No. Copy that.
You'd be doing GSR nowadays.
Is all good?
I would be.
Who was in the door? Todd, are you good? Anybody get hit?
Nobody did.
Right underneath my feet. Right underneath your feet. So into the car, there should be evidence in the car.
Yeah, it's something ricocheted off my left arm. So
Kevin, no officers from 1281 shot. We were the first to engage. There should be evidence in our van.
Say again, one more time.
No one from 1281 shot. Yep. We were engaged from the van. Should be evidence in the van. Bullets in the van. The door was open when he shot.
So put 1280.
I get why he was quitting.
He did not. He ducked back down here.
Cowboy,
But he didn't have a shot.
rolling around in the city.
He shot as we were coming by. We stopped and then we dismounted.
It's a guy. It's America.
What happened to him?
Well, in my defense of him,
we came up on him.
I don't agree necessarily with the way.
Is everybody okay?
Being enforced and stuff like that. And again, the American and
There's evidence in there? Or can we fold your guys in there?
Go in,
I mean, unless
go
it's
in there and see
specifically a
if
crime,
there's bullets.
or you can articulate, like again, under bad weather circumstances, when you're trying to protect property, I get that. Or even technically, the initial thought on lockdown, when I thought, well, flatten the curve for 2 weeks.
100% no officers shot.
Not on my van.
And none of your officers are hurt, correct?
That's correct.
Outstanding.
Well, whatever. I mean,
why is what
he was
happened
resisting when we approached.
Yep.
That's the way it happened.
It happened. Okay. But as far as we know, nobody here is shot. Nobody on the ground is shot. But this guy was injured.
Just harden up here.
We got all the way everything to the north.
Well, we went over. Did we check behind his fence?
Got a group on my left. Who's on the north running?
Hit him.
That guy we don't know.
I see you right These guys are good. I can hear the other guys screaming. He's got hands behind the back.
Behind the back, he's like...
That's it, stop it! Cuff, cuff, cuff! It's okay!
There's a gun behind you.
Now, prior to him
Not hard enough to get your hands behind your back.
pulling his hands out, I'm all, dude, slug that dude in the face. I'm all about it. And now I will say this, and I hope this is not the case, but if he had those protective gloves, oh my god. But we weren't allowed to
1281. Priority.
I'm trying to get on the ground!
Maybe if we can see him on the right here. It says he was resisting, and he's like back here.
Yeah, we can't see him.
Behind, yeah, we can't see him. The only thing we can see here, he's already on the ground. This dude's over him. I don't know when. I couldn't see where his hands were. Maybe at that point he was still.
Well, also, like, I would say this, it is kind of shitty feeling when the grown ass man be
Listen, this guy over here doesn't know what this guy might have been.
Now, and I understand if he's just like, F it, I'm gonna go so he gets compliant, and he doesn't see the hands come out, and you have to understand. Again, these guys just got shot at, so I'm gonna give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. And I even said this as they were doing it, I'm gonna be okay with this being a hard arrest because they just got shot at. So I get that. Again, these guys are lucky they didn't just get dropped right then and there. I will say this, tactics would dictate.
1281. Priority. Shots fired. 2 suspects in custody. Gun recovered.
Right at him, which is like
we are at.
Creating if these guys weren't trying to shoot a cop,
yeah,
you just created a target-rich environment for them because they got the drop.
Well, and now I say this: you do want to disperse. Yeah. You do want to kind of spread out and do your thing. And sometimes the only way is forward. Like screw it. This is what we gotta do. Let's see. Were they okay? We don't believe anyone was injured.
Yeah, they were fine.
I don't
14th and leg. 14th and leg.
We're taken into custody. Were injured either.
Right, and
this guy had a fucked up nose, but I don't think it was like a hot story.
Yeah, and I believe part of the reason why we're able to see this body cam is at least one of them was just acquitted. So he went to trial. They charged him with this. I'm guessing it's this.
Put him in recovery.
Yeah, and so
recovery.
He said it was self-defense. He heard gunshots. He got shot at. He shot back. Didn't know they were cops. He immediately and he
1281. I need a rig here.
Once he saw they were cops, he basically got on the ground.
3 for an arrested party. Injuries. He's in the recovery position.
Who's in the door? Todd, are you good?
I'm fine. Anybody?
They're hurt. Correct?
That's correct.
Outstanding.
Well, whatever. I mean,
Why is the what
he was
happened
resisting when we approached.
Yep.
That's the way it happened.
It happened. Okay. But as far as we know, nobody here is shot. Nobody on the ground is shot. But this guy is injured.
My biggest issue.
Honestly,
we got all the way everything to the north.
I have participated
we went over.
in
Did we check behind his fence?
We can fucking move this whole block.
You're running up, and it is nothing but a big fight. Have been resisted on a little bit more than that, and not resorted to punching people in the face. My training, which is it's different than obviously
No, we didn't have.
or at least what I got stuck, was that in compliance is a very not motivating thing. If somebody's amped up enough to fight, they're not going to take a punch.
One thing they don't feel
Alright, nice one.
Another thing, it's probably just going to make them angrier.
Yeah, and
So they're
so,
more likely to fight back.
we were kind of taught on leverage-based techniques. Again, we had to do a bunch of jiu-jitsu, spend hundreds of hours in jiu-jitsu prior to hitting the street. Some of it was useful, some of it wasn't. But like practically speaking, I like that my knee-jerk reaction was to, hey, let's start getting leverage on the limb. Like that was my ultimate goal, was to either control the body, and once I controlled the body, get leverage on the limb, or put myself, the terminology,
see the gun right behind
myself in a position of a superior position in like the hierarchy of positioning. I wanted to be in a more superior position for leverage. So the more I can put myself in, you want to call it like position supremacy, the more control I can have over a suspect, then I can be worried about.
Our guys put somewhere? They didn't shoot.
Again, it's really hard. The kind of stress that
he shot at us.
They're already in a high stress environment,
started to give up,
dealing with riots and stuff like that, and then you know that you're gonna have to go. Again, I've fortunately never
whoever
been
did,
shot
are they secured?
Before, but
he didn't shoot. He shot at us.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. What are you talking about? But then you said he got secured. How was he shot? He's not shot. He's not. He was resisting.
Oh. Okay, so this was a trip. So according to him.
You got our guys secured? Yeah. Put somewhere? What's that? You got our guys put somewhere? They didn't shoot. He shot at us. We went to come around here. He started to give up, and then he got resistant. That's what I said. Whoever did, are they secured? He didn't shoot. Oh, they didn't? He shot at us. Yeah, I know. Okay. What are you talking about? But then you said he got secured. How was he shot? He's not shot. Oh, he's not. He was resisting. Oh. Yeah.
Body cam.
Body
cam.
That's pretty standard protocol. At least they announced why they were doing it. They're like, hey, we're going to start talking about like aspects of the case. So there's going to be a use of force review on all of that stuff. This happened in 2020, and it's like almost a year later. That's actually pretty fast for a turnaround, I'll be honest. And these type of things, like internal investigations happen. Obviously, this was like the actual criminal case. Mm-hmm. I guess they charged him with aggravated assault on probably like 18 counts of it, the amount of cops that pulled out of that clown car. That's why marked units are a thing. Mm-hmm. That's why being in uniform is a thing. Hey, we talked about the Border Patrol guys, and I was like, God, you look like just some dude, you know? Yeah. Like, if you're going to be really exerting that much authority over somebody, you better look and quack like a duck if you're going to be detaining people and all that kind of stuff. So, I don't ever think that's kosher. I don't think it should ever be kosher, but...
Here we go. After Stallings was acquitted of all 8 charges in July, testifying that he acted in self-defense, his lawyer Eric Rice fought to be allowed to release the body cam videos. So yeah, this is how we got them released. But yeah, it says...
fought. Was it a trial by combat?
Yeah.
Right? Them versus the...
Yeah, it says all night the rubber bullets had prompted citizens to flee or cry out in pain, but Stallings, armed with a pistol for which he had a permit, quickly fired 3 shots back at the SWAT team's unmarked white van, prompting the officers to pile out and yell shots fired. Once Stallings heard him, he dropped his weapon and went to the ground. Despite his defensive position, 2 officers beat him for about 30 seconds and then arrested him. So
30 seconds is a bit of an exaggeration, but
yeah. Well, again, it depends on what happened behind that white truck. And
that's true.
That's where. I'm guessing all of these other body cam videos are of the same thing that happened, just at a different.
Just to verify who the fuck.
So,
everywhere.
This might be just
it's just an excerpt.
I mean, over in St. Paul, they were right up in
So, like I said, I don't really have an issue with the way that the arrest was conducted, simply because these guys didn't get deadly force used on them. I think it's actually a pretty good kudos they didn't shoot this guy. I'm gonna be honest, like. Right now, if I got shot at, I'd shoot back at him. Like, there would be no discussion or weirdness about it, but like.
So some of it, and you.
At the same time, like. Their use of there's an argument here that their use of less lethal munitions throughout the night created the environment that led to this situation in the way that it kind of laid out.
Yeah, I don't know. Homicide guys, of course, they're coming from way.
Yeah, man, I just don't.
I'm not.
This video is the one where they say they're out here hunting people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so let's see. I'm just at the wind, always been good.
I think they're ready to pull out. What's the best way out of here?
We got to get these 3 towed. And I was told somebody is working on the tows.
Yeah, I see somebody writing down plates. So
once we get the tows here,
I'm with.
I will say this though.
I'll leave when they leave.
Well, just a little piece of lead, but so some of it, and you.
There's crime scene.
Good.
I swear, all crime scene people looking
I
for
don't
that.
know.
Really? Yes.
Guys, of course, they're coming from waking up and coming from home and stuff, but it's like.
And they have that
I'm not-
attitude. It's fine. I know you just got shot at, but all I found was a bit of brass. It's whatever.
Doesn't
If they're
count.
here, if they see it before we leave, they see it. If they don't, sorry. Moving on.
That was a busy night.
It's nice to hear that we've moved to tonight. It was just nice to hear. We're gonna go find some more people instead of chasing people around.
Yeah.
We're going to hunt. You guys are out hunting people now, and it's just a nice change of tempo.
Yep, agreed.
Fuck these people.
Get to move on.
So, I mean...
Yeah, this was one of those... this was one of the ones where... And part of the reason why I wanted to do this video is specifically because... That might be a way that that's colloquial or what idioms or whatever,
Yeah.
but it's like, you're on body cam, man.
Yeah.
Like, I get you're tired. I get you're whatever.
Well, and also, like they got shot at, so I kind of understand. Like, I've been on duty for 2 officer-involved shootings where the officers got shot at. One of which they were, like, wounded and injured, and it almost ended his career. I think if it didn't end his career. But, it does give you a bit of an uneasy feeling when you realize, like, oh, there's people targeting police. And even then, like I've been on, we had to do a lot of warrants where we were getting, these were bad dudes, these were bad felony warrants. And you walk into an area, you're like, this is going to be a bad arrest because we're going to have to go in there, this guy's going to fight us, it's going to be a whole big deal. And with our luck, there's like 15 people in this apartment. And the arrest is going down, the dog's barking, everyone's peeking out of their room, and just the feeling like this could explode at any second, I kind of understand that. I've experienced an environment where I really felt that I had thousands of people around me that wanted to hurt me, and I was like, but I gripped my rifle a little bit tighter, or I kind of sat there and was like, all right. I've literally, legitimately grabbed and wiggled my gun just to remind myself it was there, to make myself feel a little bit better, because I was like, man, this is gonna suck. Like, and again, I've driven to fights where I knew, like, they told us there's like 60 people fighting and there's an officer down.
Damn.
And you're legit, as you're driving, I'm like taking off my name tag. I'm taking off my pens. I'm taking off like my cell phone. I'm taking out my wallet. I took my knife off me because I really thought, like, I'm going to be in that bad of a fight that all of this stuff can be used against me. So, like, that mindset where, like, you're now hunting perpetrators because you feel like you're being hunted, I can sympathize a bit from a police officer perspective, just because, like, that's really the environment that was made here. And this is kind of my initial response about why I blame the city for kind of how shitty this police department turned out to be. I will not apologize, and you said it, and you don't have to apologize, nobody, because you're not defending me either, that this was a shit police department. There are great officers, I'm sure, within this shit police department, but, like, ultimately...
There's a culture that or maybe not encourages, but it allows.
But it's allowed to be perpetrated, is what I'm getting at, yeah.
And I think a big part of it is it allows especially a mentality that you can't have as a police officer, that, for instance, in the military you can, which is an us versus them. In the military you have to be us versus them because that is your job.
Oh, wait, we got an important thing.
Oh, shit.
Steak, pork, or chicken?
Steak.
Steak all day.
All the way.
All day.
All
now, if you're having to thaw it, like right now, like it's frozen, because I have a deep freezer, like a chest freezer, chicken, only because it's faster to thaw and easier to cook that way. But if it's like you're going to go buy it, steak all the way.
Yeah. You could, like, sous vide steak.
Yeah, but it's not, like, if you're going to have steak, let it thaw.
It'll take forever, yeah.
You know, let it take the fucking 8 hours to thaw, you know, naturally, because you ruin the texture when you do it the other way. Anyways, we've answered.
Yes.
And yes, I can't imagine how it must feel getting shot at. It's got to really suck. What's my wife saying?
Well, point being, bad culture allows for bad things to happen. I forget what my point was. But yeah, I think the us versus them mentality. Yeah, That was it. It's like your job is to, you as an officer have to be an advocate for both the victim and the criminal, which we talked about this in the Gabby Petito, breakdown, in that, like, yes, you have to arrest the bad guy and you have to decide who's going to go to jail today and who's not. But that doesn't mean you can make them the enemy. You are still in charge of protecting them. Even if they just shot at you and you had to shoot back and you hit them, you're still responsible for calling EMS. You still have to provide life-saving.
And I will say this, the post on this was great. Post getting shot at here, they killed it. Outside of the guy punching the guy in the face.
Yeah. Which that one, again, unless we can see the body cam from the guy behind the white truck, we don't know what happened there.
Because I'll be honest, if I had to grab this guy, bring him to the ground, and he was like a real quick fuck you and not doing it, this guy would have got some real ghetto policing real quick. And it's only because, again, this guy still poses a deadly threat to me. Getting punched in the face is not a bad thing to happen to somebody that's posing a deadly threat. Getting shot at's a bad thing. But, like, I will say, like, from our perspective, and this is, again, we're kind of, couch quarterback in this thing.
Yeah.
This guy did have both of his hands behind his back. Every punch after that bit of compliance,
excessive.
I know 1,000% in my department, well, we got our ass chewed at the very least for that. That'd have been a write-up, if not days off. There'd have been some level of
that looked vindictive. That looked like, I don't like you.
And again, from a look stand, like, and this is why I say, like, a violent arrest, like, let's say I just punched you in the face. You punched me in the face like a motherfucker, right?
Yeah.
That's not even me shooting at you, So, like, there's a...
Yeah.
It's a little hard to sit there and say... To try to add... like, the mens rea of it. I don't know what his mindset is because he did just get shot at.
Yeah. And he might not have... I mean, there might not have been much of a mindset other than I need to get this dude under control immediately.
Yeah.
And I'm by myself right now.
100%.
Which means I need this dude to stop moving. He might have been wiggling to get his arms behind his back.
Sure.
And this dude was like, this dude's wiggling for something.
Sure.
And so
and
it's hard to say. And what I think my biggest point my biggest takeaway, I guess, from a lot of these videos that we're doing, a lot of the stuff that we're going to be doing on Breakdown is the way that this gets shown at the end of the day is really important, and the way it looks when you make an arrest like this or something like that, it makes a big difference in how you're perceived, and not just you, but how every police department across the nation is perceived. And so whether it's changing around training to make takedowns like these look prettier.
That was all of our training was around that. All of that leverage-based techniques and jiu-jitsu and all that stuff.
Because it's as justified as it might be. That looked awful.
Yeah, it looks bad.
You move this guy to his side and he looks half dead and bleeding out of his face. That's not a good look.
Yeah.
That's a real bad look.
I'll say this, at canine deployments, that's why I was like, man, every time I saw it, I was like, damn. Like, it's a dog. Nobody cares because it's a dog doing it, but if we did that to somebody, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Full, damn near tear a dude's leg off. Like,
yeah.
So it's I'm with you that optics do matter as much as that pains me to have been on the business end. It's hard.
It might not be fair, but you didn't sign up for fair.
That's what I'm getting at. I was about to say that was the
you are being given authority over other people. You are being given a level of power over other people. You are being given the, essentially the ability to kill somebody.
Yeah.
If it's warranted, and
you get to make that
comes
decision.
In like a half second.
Yeah.
And so this level of scrutiny comes with that job.
Yeah.
Same reason I have no sympathy for politicians when they whine about being treated badly.
Sure.
You signed up for that. You decided you were going to make decisions that impact my life, and you wanted that job. You campaigned for it. You went out and demanded that, or told people, I deserve this. Great. You also deserve every bit of criticism that comes your way. You deserve it's not meant to be a fun job.
Yeah.
You want a fun job, go be a clown.
Yeah, so and like I said, it just to kind of give an officer's perspective on it, and if I do have any officers that end up watching this, I get it. I've been there. I've been nervous about some guy turning around and killing me, and having good reason to. Again, I've had a guy fight me that hard, and we're just lucky it was such a violent arrest that we ended up checking this dude's pockets and pulling a gun and a knife off the guy and be like, shit. And we all go change our underwear later. But, like, ultimately, kind of like you said, like, it doesn't give us an excuse to go do things that, again, can be perceived as vindictive. Only because, let's say this guy meant to. Let's say this guy saw these less than lethal pot shots as a perfect excuse to get away with shooting at some cops. Mm-hmm. Well, you put him in the situation to do that. Everything you do after that gives more fervor, at least to a jury of 12 people, that, yeah, these were vindictive asshole cops that were running around.
And you also have to look at it from the perspective of, did you put yourself in a position where you are now being faced with a deadly threat? Because there's a lot of, and we'll do a lot of these breakdowns as well. We're probably not going to do a lot of shooting ones because I think they're not as educational. They get a lot of heated and charged. But there's a lot of times when it's like, if you had just done a better job de-escalating, if you had separate, there was one that I saw where these, the guy grabs the cop's gun and it's like, why were these two guys not separated from the beginning? And I learned this from him because it's like, yo, you walked into a place, you didn't look to see who was there, what they were doing. Yeah. You immediately start talking to one guy, you both take him out, you leave the other guy sitting on the couch inside, you have no clue what he's doing. He comes out, he starts fighting one of y'all, takes his gun, and it's like, and now you had to shoot this guy. Yep. Because you couldn't just leave one guy in there, maybe handcuff both of them if you know that there's some reason they both need to be handcuffed. Take one guy out, one guy out I don't know. Whatever it is, but it's like you now have put yourself in a situation where this can look really bad. Yeah. And it didn't have to be that way.
Yeah, and you'll be measured that way.
Mm-hmm. And again, if they'd had their reds and blues on,
that helped.
Mm-hmm. Then if this guy starts taking pot shots, you know what he's trying to do.
Yeah. And honestly, you got your reds and blues going, and it would be obvious in the body cam. And you get shot at, and you just off that dude right then and there. Probably not going to be any questions asked on that, to be honest. This guy was trying to kill cops, so he paid the price for it.
Yep. And now, instead, you get dissected for every single word you said in the 2 hours beforehand. Yep. Where you were talking about ambushing people, hunting people. Yeah. You were celebrating hitting people with pot shots.
And again, as much as that has nothing to do with that scenario as it played out, you give a defense attorney an opportunity to talk about it, and good luck, man. And
give a reporter an opportunity to talk about that is an easy narrative for anybody to write.
Yeah, and that's kind of the cancer that. And I remember, I don't know that I hate the media any less or any more now that I'm out. But at the time, it was frustrating when we would go, we would work, a call or whatever, and we have the reality, the facts of the case, and it would come out, and it was like, oh, this tragic. I had one where the dad ended up discharging a firearm and killing his own kid. He was dancing with a gun in his hand and shot his 4-year-old in the head, and then tried to cover it up, but we caught him, and it's the only reason why. They got caught. They made up this excuse that some random bullet flew into the window and hit this kid in the head, and the media would come off and say, "Oh, this tragic accident happened." I was like, "What? Oh, get out of here! These guys trying to cover it up." And again, that's not my place to go. They're right. They have to go run a store or whatever it is, but if you can suffocate any chance they have at critiquing you, you should take that opportunity to do it.
It makes your life easier going forward every single time.
And so I was lucky to avoid.
Well, and I'll say this as a media person because it's what I studied. It's what I know. And everybody always says, "Oh, the media has bias. They're trying to do this. They're trying to do that." The media is lazy. They have to fill 24 hours a day when there's not 24 hours worth of news. They have to find whatever they can and churn it out super quick. Because nobody wants to pay for news, they've fired their editors. They've gotten rid of a lot of their journalists. They're doing it. So at the end of the day, they're just trying to get anything they can out. And because of that, whatever is the most convenient narrative is the first one that's going to be out there. Yeah. And then it's going to take a whole mountain to change that idea, even if it was wrong in the first place. That's what's going to happen. You have to understand that going in. That's why, it's most PR firms or whatever, that's why they say get ahead of the story. Because if you can get ahead of it, your narrative will be the first one that's out there, and it'll be really hard to shake that. And that's what happens in this kind of stuff. When you have all of this stuff that somebody can just go through and take a look at it and take out excerpts and put them in an article and be like, these cops were hunting down people, they finally got to this one guy, they took him down, they beat him up, and they whatever. Whether you were right or wrong.
And I guarantee
and I'm not making a judgment on that.
I guarantee you some articles written that way.
Mm-hmm. The reason I found this was because I saw articles and stuff that were specifically, the narrative was, Minneapolis police being complete a-holes again, talking about hunting down protesters and basically being vindictive towards protesters.
Yeah.
And it might have been you're using idioms, you're using shorthand, you're using whatever. This is what it looks like. This is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And it's a culture in the police department that allows this kind of language to be used.
Mm-hmm.
And because it allows that kind of, like, if it got clamped down, if you were getting written up for talking that way about it, it wouldn't happen. And then nobody can go and say, oh, they were being vindictive. Oh, they were trying to find people. Oh, they were trying to cause trouble. Nobody then goes and watches this body cam footage thinking this guy is not turning his reds and blues on purpose so he can get somebody to shoot at him as an excuse to go do something. And that is the big difference. And that's what makes a difference in police departments that are well run and ones that aren't. There are departments that just do not care about that stuff. They do not care about that. And honestly, the message it sends to a community is that you don't care about them. Because you're not doing anything to tell your officers that their lives are valuable, as in that the citizens' lives are valuable. You're telling them everybody's after you, everybody's trying to get you, so you need to get them first.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Well, and like, they don't need any help feeling alienated. Like, really, officers don't need any help. Like, again, you kind of get treated like shit anyways. But, like, a lot of times what's frustrating is, of all the beat cops that were out there, or even just the P1s or the supervisors that were out there, that were doing it the right way, and I think were being lawful in their application of force and thoughtful in understanding, like, hey man, like, this is a fucking curfew, you know, whatever. It does them a complete disservice to be in that situation, and now they're having to deal with. They have no idea the context of this. All they did was hear all over the radio that there was a shots fired thing and there was an officer involved, shooting, and of course they're going to feel more alienated. Of course they're going to feel more on edge. Now they're thinking to themselves, man, am I going home? You know, and just that extra level of stress that you're putting on even good officers that were doing the job the right way and doing everything the way you want them to. Now you're putting them in a predicament where can you help but feel on edge? And if you're not doing anything to look at these individual officers that are causing issues and all do it and getting rid of them, be 100% honest, that there was officers that I worked with that I didn't think needed to be there. And I was frustrated that there was little to nothing done. Because I'm like, it's not like a guess. All of us collectively talk about how shitty this one cop is, that they're just, I guess we need manpower or whatever, and they don't want to get rid of him. And that then you're like, well, fuck it. If they're not going to do that, like, you know what I mean? There's this weird...
Well, and if they're... The other thing, too, is there's always going to be the counter-narrative that is directed, again, at police officers, which then, in turn, makes them feel more alienated, which might make them act out even more, might make them more aggressive, because now, you know, you're going to have other media. They're like, well, I don't like this media that's talking bad about me. Let me go to this media that's talking good about me. That's also nitpicking and taking bits and pieces of things and showing them in a very specific light. And now you're, again, creating this sense of us versus them. That's very, again, it's all very profitable for these agencies because they don't care. Well, they really don't care what you... as long as you buy it, they don't care what they're selling.
And you're selling Punisher skulls and all this kind of
Punisher
stuff.
Punisher skulls and big blue line flags, and that's cool and all, but, like, remember that, like, those are for solidarity with each other. They are not for solidarity against the citizenry. Because a big part of the reason why we do these shows, these officer breakdowns and all that stuff, is to kind of bridge that divide. We really want to educate the public on what officers do, how they do it, why they do it, what they're thinking, all of that stuff, because that is the stuff the public doesn't know. That's the stuff again, all we see is this stuff. We see the excerpts and we see, oh, this cop was a jerk, he was talking about this and that and the other thing, and they're terrible.
Yeah, and honestly, and if you give a damn enough to watch our whatever 4-hour-long breakdown of all this stuff, like you get to learn a little bit of something and you'll kind of understand where we're coming from. But I really think that and it kind of brings it back to, like I said, I was like, do I think that the Minneapolis Police Department's just a shit department? No, I'm going to double down on that and say it's just a shit city. Or it's run really shittily. It's not that the people suck. Again, it's not that the police officers as a whole suck that are there. It's not that even, like, the city administrators as a whole suck. But they're clearly people that are in power, that have the ability to move and shake, that move and shake the city to be that way.
Yeah.
It's not on accident that there are places in this world
or that don't bother to move and shake anything.
Sure.
Because there's also, it could just be the system's been in place for forever. Everybody follows their role, and
it's more profitable
festers.
to do nothing.
Yeah, it's a lot easier. To just be part of the system and continue doing what everybody else was doing, and just continue to let these things fester.
Yeah.
And that's typically where most of the problems end up happening. Is you have a system where you go into the system thinking of going all gung-ho, I'm going to change everything, and the system beats you into submission.
Yeah.
And eventually you just become part of it, because it's not necessarily like it's easier, but it wears you. It's a war of attrition. It wears you down. It's so much harder to do it by yourself.
And I think that goes on both ends. And it kind of again goes back to kind of why we started Only Cops, and why I think it's important is that I don't think enough law enforcement officers see that middle ground. They don't ever get presented that middle ground. Either you're like for us or against us, or like either you're. It crushes me because like every time like a story will run, it crushes me when it's like there's a group of people that are totally about it and the guys can do no wrong, or it's like there's no matter what you do, you're the fucking devil.
Yeah.
And there's like zero middle
There's
ground.
never a middle ground.
And there is nuance in the way all this stuff plays out.
Most of the world lives in the middle. And also, I think most people who are even the people who are, going F-12 and all of that stuff, like, a lot of that comes from a place where they want to support police, but they can't, because the way they perceive police is as an oppressive system that's keeping them down, or that's attacking them on the daily. And I think because ultimately everybody wants to live in safe communities. They want something like a police department to keep their neighborhood safe and all of that, but they don't see the police as that. And I think I watch a lot of like mafia stuff, and that was one of the things with like Italian immigrants that the mafia kind of provided that the police didn't, was safety.
Yeah.
They might have been extorting you, but they kept your neighborhood clean from, they kept your shops from getting burglarized. They kept your daughters from getting attacked. Like, it was that they got revenge for you.
Yeah.
And there was a sense of justice in that, and there was a sense of security in that. And there's a disconnect where that's missing for a lot of communities. And this is not being helped by this us versus them mentality.
Yeah, and like I said, I think because like an open forum for discussion on it doesn't exist, and I think because it's too profitable to vilify the police or to just like celebrate them as they can do no wrong, that you won't see progress until we have more conversations like this, and you won't see real reform, I guess if that's what you want to call it. Because I want to see police officers have better tools. I want to see that they do sometimes slightly less, like you kind of, or at the very least, not that necessarily they're doing less, but they have better resources to actually handle the problems they're being asked to do. Whether it's in the form of more training or auxiliary staff. Honestly, I really think per shift you really should have like a social worker or two per shift. I know it's going to be absorbently expensive, but again, what kind of care do you really want?
And again, is it more expensive than dealing with the lawsuits?
No kidding.
that arise from not having it. Like,
no
it's just
kidding.
Yeah.
And
an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. I've been there. I've been in those situations. Gil's been in those situations. I've been on both the business end of the stick. And not, I've been handled by law enforcement prior to me being in law enforcement. And so, and I've seen really good examples of incredible policing and real shit examples of like, wow, like that's, I guess your department's kosher with that. All right, whatever. And I think that's what really needs to change. Because if not, good cops are getting hurt. Again, I in what, the 4.5 years I was probably in law enforcement, I think I saw just in the North Texas area, I think it was like 20 cops get killed in the line of duty.
Damn.
Like, not like by heart attacks. Like, someone went out of their way to kill them. Like, running over with cars, shooting, stabbing, beating, craziness. And I think nationwide, it numbers in the hundreds. It was like every day. And we had like there was police posts was one of the it was like an Instagram thing that I follow, and it was always like end of watch today. I was like, golly. I was like, I spend so much time with my little like black So like, there's a certain stress with that. Like, where's that coming from? Where's all this animosity for police coming from? And is some of it media sensationalized? Yes, but when you got people indiscriminately, dunking on dudes with 40 millimeter, rubber bullets for what? Mm-hmm. I get it if they're burning down a CVS. Buy me rubber bullet tar out of those guys.
They're walking. They might be walking home.
You just gotta. There's a burden that we all have to carry based on your actions. Mm-hmm. Heck, I remember we had an officer involved shooting. This kid's trying to get away from the situation, and then every single traffic stop I did for like 4 months after that, everybody has like their hands out of the window. Everyone's like, I've had legit like sheer panic from everybody that I pulled over, and I was like, bro, like you just don't have your headlights on, and like it's kind of concerning because it's like 10 o'clock at night, and you should have your headlights on, like you're an invisible missile. And that's all I pulled him over for. It was like a welfare check more than a traffic stop. Mm-hmm. And this guy was like genuinely concerned that I was going to shoot him. Mm-hmm. And part of that's, them perpetuating this boogeyman stuff. Part of that's some dude fucked up and shot somebody. Like, yeah, like you have to understand that there's a burden that we all have to collectively carry. Mm-hmm. Not only as just like the police community, but also like the community at large, like the city that you're living in. Now everyone's got this weird uneasiness. Mm-hmm. And now, again, the media is going to start drawing party lines again about, well, were you for this or against this? Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. Don't add to that narrative if you can. No. And if it's unavoidable, at least make sure that you're putting yourself in a situation to win that legal battle. Mm-hmm. If not, be right with your decisions that you're making and think that they're righteous.
And remember that just because you believe in one thing does not mean that someone who believes something different is wrong necessarily.
True, 100%.
There's always shades of gray. There's always middle ground. There's always complexities. Don't be absolutist.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I think it's kind of stupid, and we'll kind of close on this. I think it would be dumb for you to expect for civilians to understand what you're going through. And I think a lot of officers want to see that happen, and that's a lot to ask. And I'm not saying that to say that, oh my God, woe is us, but it's like, how could you ask somebody that's never experienced, again, like we're talking about a violent arrest. I was like, bro, these guys, I kept saying, I'm like, these guys just got shot at. I was like, I've been assaulted. And mind you, I've never had to go, and it's not in my training to punch somebody in the face. If I did. Now, doesn't mean I wouldn't have done it. I don't know. If somebody shot at me, maybe I would have uppercut this guy next week. You don't know. But I have aggressively thrown people to the ground. I put people in arm bars. I've threatened. I've literally, the words have left my mouth. I'm going to rip your arm off if you don't give me your arm. I've said things like that. You've had to. I've told somebody I'm going to shoot you in the face if you don't chill. Those words have left my mouth. And I meant them. And I was pointing a very loaded weapon, or I was legitimately holding somebody in like a Kimura. And I'm like, bro, seriously, if I do not see that other hand emerge very quickly, you are never going to use this arm the same way ever again. Who does that? Like, and how do you rationally like expect for they should give me the benefit of the doubt? Why? You know what I mean? Like why would they do that? Why would a rational person who has no experience with that do that? And I think like, it's not that you're asking too much, but I think that's a dumb thing to expect. In the same way I don't expect, I'll never understand what childbirth's like. I'm not a parent. As much as I watch his parents complain about having kids, how can I expect that? So if you're complaining to me about your kid and wanting empathy, I'm sorry, man. Like, it sounds like it sucks. Rough, but there's a reason I don't have kids right now. You know what I mean? It's the same. It's the same. It's maybe a little bit more lighthearted, but it's kind of the same reason why I think you can't be so upset that the public doesn't fully understand where you're coming from and why you might feel it's justified. And again, I've done things that I knew were justified legally, and I felt righteous with it. And I had some people be like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. And in my mind, I thought to myself, oh my God, you're an idiot and never suffered a day in your life. But, what left my mouth was something considerably more professional, and it kept me from getting in trouble or being some soundbite for the local news to go roast me on or get a soundbite out of. So protect yourself as you're protecting others, and protect yourself from yourself.
And I'll leave it with, doing that is not just good for your relations with the community and all that stuff. It keeps you safer.
100%.
Which is a big part of it. Like, your community relations keep you safer.
Yeah.
The more people trust you, the more likely they are for, and it makes your job easier too. The more likely they are to talk to you, give you information you need without having to wrestle it out of them. The more likely people are to just be chill. Because a lot of times too, like, does something escalate when it didn't need to just because somebody was afraid of you?
Yeah.
And they didn't know how to react. They didn't know whatever. They did something wrong. You misinterpreted it. You did something. They misinterpreted it. And it's, if they trust you, again, and I'll go back to the suburbs versus the city. People in the suburbs don't have these problems because they trust their police departments.
Yeah.
They believe that the police is there for their best interest, except when they're giving them a ticket. And so even when they're being given a ticket, they're usually not, they might be exasperated, they might say dumb things, but they're going to hand you their ID and their insurance. They're going to go, okay. They're going to show up, they're going to pay it, they're going to do all of this stuff. You're not as likely to worry that they're just going to pull out a gun and shoot you.
Yeah.
Again, because they trust you. And so you want to build that trust with your communities. And again, it's harder. There's obviously neighborhoods and places and cities where like the crime rate's high, the likelihood of the people that just are definitely, they have warrants, they have whatever. But your likelihood of having a person that isn't that escalated to a situation that is similar is much lower if the community trusts you.
Yeah.
And if they like you.
And again, part of that's also, I think part of that burden's also on the media. I think part of that burden's also on city managers.
But and I'll say it again with the media, and I'll say it again with all of those. It's like that again. That burden ultimately falls on us because we're the ones that tell them what we want.
Oh, I was about to say I don't want to say like reporters are bad people. I don't want to say that like the people behind like the I guess the editors. It's they're giving us what we want, clearly. I agree fully on that it's like, it's the monster we created. It's not like they just some like maniacal, Scrooge, and they're like, oh, how can I further decay society? I really do believe we wanted this.
They're trying to do their jobs. They're trying to collect their paycheck. Yeah. They're trying to give their bosses what their bosses want. They're trying to give their bosses what they want.
If y'all were interested in Dow stock and like how to better like I don't know, educate the next generation to be better than us, that's all they would show.
Yeah. I like to say, I think I left a comment like this, not from the Only Cops account, but it was like, the problem with journalists reporting on stuff is that their only expertise is journalism, which means they're not going to understand 90% of what you're talking about. They're not going to understand your job. They're not going to understand what you're telling them. They're not going to understand your jargon. They're going to have to ask somebody.
Yeah.
And they might not get it right. And so at the end of the day, you have to remember that, again, they're giving you what you want because that's what you told them you wanted. And they're not necessarily, I mean, I'm sure there's some out there that are, trying to be jerks and writing horrible blogs to create 100%. Specific things. But for the most part, they're people trying to do their jobs the best they can with whatever resources they're given. And a lot of times that's not a lot of resources.
And honestly, if I can't expect like the school teacher to understand what my job is as a cop, I don't think you can expect like somebody that's paid to talk on TV to understand or like an editor.
Oh, and especially not if you watch cable news, stop. It's not worth it. It's not news. It's not news. It's pure marketing nonsense. It's filler between commercial breaks. It's garbage. Don't watch it. Read your news. Read multiple news sources. Also, same thing with like be aware that every podcast you listen to, every YouTube show you watch has an inherent bias, and they should at the very least be open and honest about what that bias is when they're telling you stuff. Yeah. And also understand that more than likely their opinion shows, not news. Yep. They're not telling you facts, they're telling you their opinion on facts.
And even, I mean, these are educated opinions. Thank you for returning, Miss Lisa. I saw your comment.
Yeah, you missed us pontificating.
Yeah, you can go back and watch it.
On the philosophy of...
we pontificated there for a second.
Humanity, I guess.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, I want there to be a better world. I don't want newer officers that are deciding that being a cop's still a good idea. I don't want them to kind of suffer... Like the 5 years in policing we've kind of had. It's been super lethal. It was super bad. A lot of the experience. I don't know too many officers that aren't at least partially traumatized by having to put up with some of that stuff. And not even that, but like really, and this is like the most crushing part of it for me, is there are communities now that are like crazy suffering. Like the murder rate in the city I just left like doubled.
Yeah.
And it didn't double because Bill and I left. No, we're amazing cops, but like we're not that cool.
That's exactly why. The last 5 months, they've just it's been nothing but murders.
It's been awful. But no, but like it's really
it's weird. Y'all left, and all of a sudden there's a lot of murders.
There's a lot of murders.
A lot of murders. Interesting.
Suspect.
Very suspect.
I really think a lot of it just has to do with, again, we're now craving this conflict and we're craving this controversy, and the monster is getting so big and out of hand that what we're all doing is now avoiding it, and the people that needed these services are suffering.
We're training the monster, and it's training us, and we're in this horrible feedback loop.
Yeah.
So
we have to
step away. Yeah, step away from it. Do what I do, and just my Facebook page is a big mess because I let a bunch of people have access to it, so it doesn't know what to do with me. So it shows me everything, which is great because I get to see how all of the people on this side are talking about the people on this side in the exact same way. You're all talking about each other the exact same way.
Yeah.
You all think about each other the exact same way, and if you all would just talk to each other instead of to the people in your bubbles, you'd all sort stuff out because most of y'all agree on everything.
Yeah.
You just disagree maybe on some of the specifics of how to get there, but for 90% of the stuff, it's like it's all the same.
Yeah. Anyways,
it's like everybody sees the problems, and it's just like, well, but it's my person who will fix it. It's like, no, neither of y'all's person's gonna fix it. Y'all have to fix it. You have to do it. I'm sorry, you can't. No, there's no savior coming.
There's not. This is our turd to clean, and if we don't clean it, it's gonna turn to a bigger turd. So,
no political savior. No apologies to all of our religious viewers.
Yeah.
Or I guess Lisa, if she's religious.
Anyways, Lisa, thank you for
sticking with us so long.
Engagement.
I think we went like 4 hours. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, she's committed.
Yeah,
I'm about it. Seriously though, email us. We'll get you a shirt.
Yeah. For sure.
And then anybody else that's watching this and leaves comments in there, leave some comments for any discussions you guys want to have about this. I answer 95% of that stuff. If I actually at this point, I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that answers.
Yeah, well, you handle all of our YouTube comments. I answer any of our TikTok stuff.
Yeah.
Bill answers all our Instagram. So, you can reach us anywhere. Luckily, there's 3 of us, so we can get to you no matter what. But yeah, we'll be doing a lot more of these. People are trying to as aggressively agree with each. Yeah, people are trying to as aggressively agree with each other as possible. Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
100% true.
There's a lot of.
It's like I need to be in this club.
There's a lot of hand holding. Like we gotta attaboy each other, and it's like, oh yeah, like it's.
Well, you don't want to get kicked out of your club, and that's the thing. Is like now you say the wrong thing, you get kicked out of your club. Doesn't matter what club you're in.
Join our club.
Yeah, join our club.
Our club is the fuck.
We're chill
club. I don't belong anywhere.
That's right.
So
we have rational discussions about things, and our disagreements turn into consensus.
If you like these long form style of videos, our Gabby Petito one was pretty awesome.
Yeah, we chopped that one up because that was a pre-recorded one. So part 3 will be coming out this weekend. Probably part 4 too. And then if there is enough for a part 5, I'll make a part 5. But I think I can get it in 4.
It'll be there.
And then we'll be doing more of these. I'm hoping to do these like streams, make them streams, and do them weekly.
I can try to do them once a week.
Yeah, probably not 4 hours long every time, but we'll see.
Hey man, whatever. We're long-winded. At least I am. I know I am.
We like to talk.
If you guys have suggestions for stuff that you guys want to see, obviously drop them in the comments. Check out our TikTok. Our TikTok's out of control.
It is, yeah.
And then if you guys have anything that you guys want us to see, obviously drop links in it. And then check out our Patreon. It is fully launched. As we start getting Patreon people, we're going to start offering perks and stuff like that. We have a lot of recorded stuff that's going to be like we either can't release or like didn't choose to release because YouTube is what YouTube is.
There's a lot of stuff that got blocked by the copyright filter.
So that'll be released on Patreon.
We had to skip a couple weeks. But yeah, we'll be putting all of that stuff on Patreon for Patreon subscribers, and also long form versions of a lot of our stuff. There's some that I just had to cut shorter just because of time limitations.
So, but we'll try to do some more streaming. We'll try to at least do this. I like to do it once a week, and then I'll talk to Bill about trying to do it if we do it any more often than that.
They won't all be like us watching stuff and doing that stuff. We really want to bring on all kinds of people to talk to. We want to bring on like a psychologist to talk about the mental state of cops and PTSD, all of that stuff. Want to bring on activists to talk about potentially their ideas for reform, whether they'd work or not.
I'd like to have like an actual civil discussion about like what their expectations are for what they want to see as change, and then like how feasible do I think a lot of this stuff is, or like even a lot of times they'd like to say like how long would that take to change?
Yeah.
Like if you're like, okay, today we're gonna start, and I want to like completely I want a clean slated department, and I want to have a completely revamp of hiring process. That's going to take 10 years.
Yeah.
To replace the amount of expertise you need to have for detectives and all this kind of stuff, that's going to take a decade easy.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it can't be done.
Yeah. And whether or not some of those ideas would even work, I mean, there's a lot of the discussion happens at higher levels than, the people actually doing the work, which means the patrol officers.
Yeah.
They see a lot of stuff, and then it gets percolated up and filtered out to where administrators and city officials are getting a very, very sanitized version of what's actually going on, and they make decisions based off of things that have nothing to do with actually bettering people's lives.
Yeah, and so that's kind of some of the discussions we're going to have. We're trying to line some of that stuff up. Also, we're doing gear reviews. We're in some talks with some people that hopefully we can get hooked up with some of that stuff. And then, like I said, if you super shout us out and support one of these things, sometimes every once in a while we'll give some free stuff away. Like to Miss Gomez here. Or Gonzalez. Sorry.
Dyslexic.
I'm getting tired. I'm getting tired at this point. So anyways, thank you for riding 2-man with us. So again, Josh and Officer, or
not Officer.
It's Producer One.
I don't need to be
Producer
in
One.
that kind of trouble.
Yeah, Producer One.
I don't need any legal trouble. I'm Producer.
Yeah. I'm not even an officer. I'm just Josh now.
Yeah.
So, anyways, till next time, it was a pleasure, and I hope to see you guys next time.
Peace.
Yeah, that was a 4-hour stream. Goodness gracious. Hi.